Did you miss us? Here we are, back again. Heavy Metallurgy. It's Friday. It's episode number 265. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Marty. It's good to see you. Alan, seems like we haven't seen you in 24 hours. How you been?
It's been minutes and minutes since we did this.
Yes.
I've done okay. It's been a very busy running around kind of Friday, but nothing bad or pressing, just lots of little stuff to knock out, which we did. So I am, however, happy to be able to now just sit still, take it easy, hang out with you guys and everybody in the chat tonight, and do what we do on Fridays. Talk about the music we love and enjoy listening to.
Hell yeah. And joining us once again, it's been since the glam metal episode, I think, that legendary / ill-fated dress up time on Heavy Metallurgy with Lee from the band Warhammer666 and Mayhem Sundays. How's it going, Lee?
Going awesome. You are a lot quieter than my normal co-host. I'll give you that, because normally at this point I'm taking the air off while he screams, metalheads. I was gearing myself up for it. I'm so shell shocked by it, but it was like, oh wow, that's right. It's a different show. So, right yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you again for having me back. Yes, that glam episode was some PTSD for all of us, wasn't it?
I think Alan's still a little miffed. He was upstaged by Jeff on that whole thing. Alan was ready. He had his garb, and then out came the tights.
I had my fun, but I would never begrudge Jeff his fun with it either.
Right on. Yep. Well, Lee, it's good to see you, man. Always good to have you back, and you come this time with a little bit of something to talk about. You've been toiling away over in your bunker, and you've got a new Warhammer 666 album that's been kind of, well, not on the back burner for you. You've been slaving away, listening to mixes and changing things and refining and writing more stuff. But finally, the internet has been licked by the flames of I Crave the Dark. How has the response for this been?
It's been pretty good, actually. Normally, I brace for impact when I put those things up, because I always think, look, who cares? People jump on the internet to listen to people talk and make fun of themselves and things. And then as soon as you put up, I guess, what you do and why you sit on here and make a fool of yourself, you just kind of go, oh, no one's going to listen to it. But this one was pretty good. I had some, I'm convinced that when someone like yourself or someone like, someone in the scene who's got some, a lot of people, when they touch it, it infects their people, and that infects their side. So that's what seems to have happened. I've gotten more than what I've it hasn't gone viral or anything, but it's been better than my normal fare. So, but I put a ton of work into it. So I'm kind of like, I should have got some listens to this song. So I'm really proud of it, and took a ton of time, and you'd be the one to be my witness on that. But it's these are old songs too, and they've just been stripped down and replayed and added and subtracted. And the more I messed with them, I even destroyed some when I took so much out of it, and then I couldn't ever regain the original feeling of it. Some of them were like the songs which I thought, like, these are killer songs, and turns out they all went onto the back burner because I just, played with them so much I ruined them. But these ones I kept, especially this one, this I Crave the Dark, which is, part of this, the concept of what this is, just turned out better than what I thought it was going to be. So I'm really happy with it.
Well, let's clarify real quick. When you said these are older songs, this isn't remakes of older songs. These are older songs that have yet to be released that you have completely retooled.
Sorry about that.
I just wanted people to know that when you say these are older songs, I don't want get the feeling of you kind of discrediting them, because I know you're tired of them at this point, but you've really, I've had the privilege of hearing various stages of Mixdown, and it is easily the best sounding Warhammer 666 material I've heard yet. And I think you're kind of seeing a little bit of the light when it's coming to black metal of this character can have a good sound quality and not lose its spirit, more or less. What do you think about that?
Yeah, sorry. I kind of feel that everyone just knows what I do. It's an awful habit I got, but I sit with these things for so long. But yeah, these songs I wrote. It feels like longer than what it is, but we went to Ohio last, not 2025, the Valentine's Day to go see a show, and I was so kind of taken aback with the drive out through PA and with all the mountains, and at that point there was blizzards happening. It was great weather for, like this type of stuff, and I just wanted to write something based around that landscape. And so this was, for me, it's old, because I'm used to just putting them down, making sure everything's on time, kind of, and then just boom, just kick it out. And I kind of took pride in the fact that I could rapid fire release, only to find out that when I heard some of the stuff back on the internet, I was like, man, that's kind of... But yeah, these songs, no one's ever heard these before, except, obviously for yourself. But yeah, these are all new to the audience. They feel like I've been sitting with them for the last 10 years. But yeah, these are brand new things. And they've all, I think, because I've kind of had that time to play with production, and I do this all myself. I don't do anything as far as outsource this. Everything's done by me, and only the artwork, because I can't draw for shit. But I just play with productions, and I play with it, and I'm never happy with it. And then I go out with a guy like Jeff from Gas Masks, and I meet these people who also do it themselves. Super inspiring, but also soul crushing too, because these guys just don't know what they're doing either, but everything sounds 10 times better. So this just deserved the time. So I spent the time, and I suddenly got something I was happy with, and I was like, hallelujah, this is it. We're doing this. So that's what I've put out onto the internet last Wednesday, I think it came out. So yeah.
Link is in the description for the song itself, along with Lee's other stuff as well. But yeah, I think, well, as you're learning, this whole recording process, it's an endless rabbit hole of gear, techniques. Everybody's got probably a little bit different take on it, things they do. When you go to a producer, you're paying for their tricks, the things that they've learned. And though there might be a base level where a lot of these producers, they all know their gear a certain way, there's always the gear works one way, but how they are used in a recording process. And it's been interesting watching your YouTube channel, and the fact that you've been trying to document the process as you're going through it. And regarding, like we said, having a more professional sounding production, has this kind of given you a bit of a inspiration to see where you can take sonically Warhammer?
Yeah, because now we have going forward full piano pieces that are sitting right amongst those riffs, which is, to me, because I can play guitar to the point where I don't know what I'm playing. I know where my hands go, I know what I should be doing, but if you told me stop right there, what's that chord? I'd be like, if this one, you know what I mean? So I've got a very rudimentary type of thing, but I've kind of just practiced enough to kind of give me something. So yeah, now we're dropping in, when I say we, it's mostly myself though. When I can't play something, it's I get Miss A down here, because she's a piano teacher.
Yeah.
To try and put some subtlety into it, because as much as I love piano, as much as I love keyboards, you can really overdo it very quickly. But I'm very heavy-handed. I'm like seek and destroy, right? So I've got two fingers and I'm going bang, 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 bang. So you can't really do that with piano. It's all feel and touch. And so, all that's now in these songs. You may not hear them straight away, but it's definitely flavors it. And that's the stuff now which I'm fully invested in. Now it isn't just riffs to me. It's all feelings. It's all atmosphere. And thank you, Aaron, metal theologian, who threw that into my head about, this isn't supposed to be metal. And I've bought into it hook, line, and sinker now. Now if this doesn't have some type of atmosphere or doesn't give you a feeling, then it's not making a record. And I feel way stronger about doing that than I do about trying to find a great cold Norwegian riff. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm having a lot more fun with it now than what I was.
This isn't metal. This whole thing, it's he tends to forget the whole flaw in his whole proposal here is
Don't
the fact
ruin my
that
dream.
metal is the delivery system. It just is. Heavy metal is the delivery system. I don't care how much atmosphere is in it. The distorted guitars, the intention behind them, comes from a place of heavy metal. So I know what he's saying, but I don't know that I agree with it.
I think Aaron and I have drunk the same Kool-Aid, and I seriously believe that we are in the cult, and no one understands us, and whatever spaceship that's going to fly by Earth in 6 years will pick us up, and we'll leave this place to you guys and your black metal. You know what I mean? So
next time you both buy matching tracksuits and cut off your testicles, I'll know the comet to pick you up is coming soon.
we do have the same colored Nikes, so we
there you go.
We are starting this journey together.
Yeah. Well, when you're kind of releasing some tracks, when will we expect this album to see it through to everybody can hear the whole thing? When can we expect that? I know it's kind of up in the air right now.
Well, I've got 2 more songs I really want to do, but I want to let this just sit and breathe for a while, and the other ones will expand that I Crave the Dark storyline. Actually, when you had Austin on the other night, that was when he said it's not a linear story. That I was like, yes, that's it, because mine is very in the same. It doesn't come from one storyline and go through the thing. It's like it's just the one place which makes this thing. But I love Halloween. I love doing stuff around Halloween. I want to try to, because it's going to be vinyl, right? So I've got to make sure everything's perfect, I guess. I want to have some people look at these things and gather some feeling towards it. So I'm hoping, September, October, I'll have it all out.
Well, it's a 3-month turnaround time, depending on what plant you use. So take that in consideration. That's all I'm saying.
December 2027.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm excited to hear it. Hold it in my hands and get you back on and talk about it when it's ready for people to obtain it, because I think it's some of your coolest work for sure, and really having a more I don't want to say cleaner production, but just a more allowing all of the elements to come through the mix is really nice. It's really, we all it's easy to hide behind a wall of fuzz and raw. It just is, and that's part of the sound. Let's not mince words here. It's part of it, but also, having a good production, there's something to be said for that too. If you're proud of your material, give it a good pedestal to stand on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, we're doing a What's Spinning tonight because we've had a very busy week. And hopefully y'all went and checked out Radical Research's episode, collaborative episode, crossover episode, however you want to say it, that aired today. Regarding the Chameleons album. So go check that out. And yeah. Alan, did you have anything you wanted to ask Lee about the album or the song or anything? I steamroll. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. No, you've covered it well, and I've been chatting with tons of folks over here in the live chat. We've got a lot of folks that have popped in. So yeah, we're already talking playlists and catching up and talking about some cool older bands like Zool that do not get discussed enough. So
Mike Busher's band. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Great band. Very overlooked. So no, I think we're good, and you've covered it great. And yes, people should definitely go check out more Warhammer 666 material as soon as possible. Good stuff.
Yep. Link to the song and link to his Bandcamp is in the description. Please go buy some digital files or go buy some CDs. That'd be cool.
It's a Bandcamp Friday today. You still got a few hours. Unless you're someone like Ian and it's already Saturday. But if you're in the U.S., you still got a few hours. Bandcamp Friday. More money goes to Lee if you buy it in the next 2-3 hours. Right. Just saying. Chop, chop.
Look at this. Wonder where he got that from, huh? Could be the guy sitting on the stream right now.
Could be. Yes. Yeah, glad you caught that, Simon. Yeah, big thanks to Lee for the cool shirt from Utopia Records over in Australia. So see, now I can wear this and folks be like, oh, that's a cool shirt. Where's it from? They're like, oh, it's this cool heavy metal place in Australia. Like, holy shit, you've been to Australia? Be like, no, never. And they're like, oh, you're just a fucking poser wearing a t-shirt then. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So yeah, many awkward conversations in the future if I wear this in public.
Be thankful he's not showing off the matching panty set that came with this shirt. So everybody, you're welcome. You're welcome.
That thong disappeared 15 minutes ago, man. It ain't coming back.
It disappeared somewhere between your, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about where. Yeah. Didn't Halloween do a song called Beyond the Black Hole?
That was Gamma Ray, wasn't
it? Potato.
Potato. Yeah. All right. Well, let's start this party off. I have a pile of stuff. We all have a pile of stuff. Let's, Lee, what you been spinning?
Well, so when I walk to work, right, I've got this different type of playlist going on. So I normally listen to stuff that I haven't bought, I haven't got. So am I able to just like quickly shout some stuff out that I think is absolutely unbelievable, and I think everyone should be in on this, right?
Thanks, Ian. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the super chat.
You,
so if anyone has heard of a guy, he has a project called Infamous. They're from Italy. I've told Marty about this. Was sold to me like this was like a Satanic War Master type of band. So I went and checked it out. It's nothing like that, but it is like listening to a black metal operatic composed songs, and they're like 7-8 minutes long, but you just get lost in the whole. Like I can walk to work in 15 minutes right now. When I listen to one of those songs, suddenly I'm at the front door, and it's like as disappointing as it is amazing that I lose track of time when I'm listening to this. And on planes, it's great on planes because trips go so quick, but it's like a dream state, and it is nothing I've heard that is like this. Infamous, they're from Italy. You need to go check them out. Now I'll get onto the stuff that I actually have. But
I totally forgot to. You sent me the link to that track. It was good, and I forgot to pursue it. Because it wasn't on. There wasn't anything on eBay.
No, you can't find anything either. He releases everything on CDR, and I believe a few of the more those of lesser moral record stores may have it, but it's very hard to get. A lot of splits, but the album's almost impossible. But talking of really cool black metal, which is like, and I brought these out just to impress Alan and Aaron, if he's in the chat, but I have to take it out. It's going to make it hard for me. But this band is called Ill Omen, if you haven't heard of this band. Now, this is an Australian black metal project, and it sucks to get out. And you have to take my word for it, right? We're going to try and get this right. I can't even get it out of the damn thing. So the guy who was in this, I believe, was also part of Bloodduster, I believe, or Nuxul. I can't remember. But this is, again, one of those very atmospheric, very dark Australian black metal that is now no longer. But Nuclear War now have these, and it's just such a well put together bunch of songs. And I mean, though this is just the 7-inch, he has 2 or 3 albums and a few demos, but it's now gone. He's no longer doing it, and I think he might have been. He's in another band now that's quite interesting. It's like a more depressive black metal band. I can't think of who they're called, but regardless of the fact, it is like Infamous. It's very, very emotionally charged. Very, very cool. I listen to this stuff as much as I can, especially if I've got some inspiration, or walking. Walking's another great thing where this just takes me out of what I'm doing, and you can just get lost in it. It's
clock the miles and not even think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
So you actually mean black, not metal?
Black, not metal.
Very
black.
Just to clarify,
atmosphere. It's a black atmosphere, non-metal album.
There we go. Right on. Good start. All right, Alan.
I can only assume Tycho's talking about me with this particular comment. All right, let's see. My playlist through especially like late April and early May, was kind of split. And I thought about putting together an episode over on Let's Talk Metal, but I didn't get around to it. It was basically like half stoner doom and half thrash metal. So I was going to combine it together and create a new genre called stoner doom, which really doesn't sound like it would work on any level whatsoever. I don't think those two are meant to be combined very easily.
Isn't that already a thing?
Isn't it?
I'd be surprised. Someone has probably tried it. It's hard to find a micro genre at this point someone hasn't tagged on. But regardless, you'll see a decent chunk of older thrash and a decent chunk of doomy stuff leaning towards a little bit of the stoner side here tonight. So we'll start with a classic. Picked this up at a record store up in North Carolina. I'd always wanted an older copy of this because all the reissues do funny things with remastering and all, and kind of had to get the original at some point. They had a copy for a decent price, and so yeah, killing is my business, and business is good.
Love that record. Love it.
Yeah, this one, I've always had a little trouble with this one. I just like some of the other early Megadeth albums a lot more, and I had never spent as much time with this. I've been going back to this album more and more over the past year or so. And a lot of that's on the recommendation of our buddy Philip over at Chromium Dioxide. This is a big album for him. He talks very passionately about it. And so I was like, yeah, I probably just one I need to spend more time with. My go-tos have always been more like, Rust in Peace and Peace Sells. Even in high school, I spent a lot of time with So Far, So Good, So What. This one I didn't pick up until later. And sometimes, when you don't get one of those albums until much later, you just don't spend as much time with it, which is part of the issue here. The production is a little loosey-goosey on this album. That didn't help. The cover, I think, also never necessarily screamed by me when it looks like a giant marshmallow wearing metal shades. It's like, the band has complained incessantly about how poorly this was done. And it was a rough start for Vic Rattlehead looking like that. Nevertheless, though, the music is really excellent, and it's grown a lot on me as I've spent more and more time with it. The title track is incredible. I just really like this lineup of Megadeth. These guys had a really unique sound, due in no small part to their very unique background, coming from more of a non-metal kind of musical world, but infusing that into thrash. It's a short album. It's to the point. Yes, you have to deal with the Nancy Sinatra cover, which is just, it's there. You make it through it and just keep going on to other better things like Looking Down the Cross. So yeah, the remasters, of course, the cover song gets all bleeped out, or songs are remastered and stuff. People always complain that it doesn't sound as good. So it's been in my mind for a while that when I came across a nice original copy, this one had the insert with it, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. It's a UK press, actually. It is it's a Music for Nations press, so not the US press, but the UK press, which, okay, I'm okay with that. It actually made it a little bit cheaper than it would have been. So I'm fine. The UK presses from the 80s tend to sound quite good most of the time. And yeah, it's been really fun getting to hear the original version of Killing Is My Business for the first time in a very long time. So we'll start off there with thrash. And again, I want to ping pong back and forth a bit with some thrash and some doomy stuff. But definitely been enjoying the first Megadeth album.
All about the drums for me on that one. Gar's performance is awesome. His best performance.
No. Everyone's performance is, again, they have that just kind of very rickety sound. You can tell they hadn't been together a long time, but still just, really, really good performances early in their career.
Was it Chris Poland who was the other guitar player on that?
Yep.
I think any time Chris Poland got with Dave Mustaine, they just did magic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever the reason was, but everything he did with him was great.
Yeah, really, really good guitar tandem, and kind of the beginning of Dave working with lots and lots of really top-notch guitarists.
I remember an interview where Dave was saying how intimidated he was by Chris, because Chris was just so. He was also a little intimidated by Marty Friedman a little bit as well.
He had a
Yeah.
shocking haircut, though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Marty, Friedman had a pretty well-established history with other metal bands before Megadeth, but Chris, did he do any metal stuff before Killing Is My Business?
Him and Gar were jazz guys.
Yeah, I think they were really coming from outside the box.
Yeah.
But that's cool that Dave was very much aware of them and that impressed as to feel like, oh boy, a little intimidated. Neat.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
All right. Well, my friend S. Craig Zoller sent me a little package, a couple anyway, and this was in it. The new Riding Christ Pro Christu, I think it's how you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. He was saying, I was kind of discrediting Heretic. Not that it's a bad record. This band, after Theogonia, that is the last album by this band that I really stand up and salute, just for the fact that it's more aggressive. It still retains those very powerful Greek melody lines, and just Greek black metal has a unique style about it, and Riding Christ are definitely at the forefront of that sound, along with Verathron and a handful of others. But they've always been good. They haven't put out a shit record, but there was just a time where after Theogonia, things started to be a lot of old ladies chanting and him chanting and doing less growling and more theatrical type of vocal deliveries, which I think he's struggling a bit with the harsh vocals, which, after all the years, all the touring, I understand it. That's moving parts. As older you get, they don't work like they used to. But this record, Craig, you're completely right. This record has something going on here. There's a little bit, those Greek melody lines are really prominent again. There's still some of the chanting, kind of chanted singing style going on here, but it's really at service to the song. It really helps elevate these tracks. And again, it's very cinematic, but it's less of that. It's less, orchestration. There's just a little bit more metal. It's a nice balance between those two parts of Riding Christ. And yeah, I listened to this for the first time today, and I really enjoyed it. I'm like, wow, he's right. This is completely... Heretic was really good. I liked it, but it's nothing I'm going back to. This one, I can see pulling this off the shelf a bit more. They're bringing a bit of the past back in. The things that made this band really great is kind of in the mix a little bit more predominantly than it has been the last few albums. So, yep, go check out Pro Christo.
I think it's Christou, but I'm not sure.
Christou, yeah. Check it out. Good shit.
Oh, I'm glad you liked that. I thought it was a pretty cool album. I think the album starts really well. For me, it's a little front loaded, but I like this era of Riding Christ. It is, you're right, it is different, but I think that makes it interesting that they didn't just keep trying to remake Non-Servium 5 more times or something.
Agreed. I mean, they did what they had to do to stay if they kept putting out the same fucking records,
it would get a little old, yeah. And like you said, this really does still feel incredibly Hellenic in terms of its sound. It's really got that really cool kind of world building vibe. When they're on, they're really good. They can get a little boring at this era, to your point, though. But when they're on, they're on.
Absolutely. All right, Lee.
I was told, Marty, Alan, that you're a big gore grind fan. So I pulled this one for you. All right. Now,
so gory, so grinding.
What? Yeah. So I hate grindcore. I hate it, right? And I hate it with a passion. And it's mostly due to the fans of it. But the atypical grindcore fan. I don't know what it is, but there is some grindcore that I really like. And I was told that it's mostly because it's more of the death metal type of grind. But this is one. Now, what do you think, just by looking at the cover, that this is going to, sound like? What do you think?
Well, probably Carcass.
You'd be right. You'd be 100% right.
Yeah.
And it turns out that there's a bunch of Carcass worship bands, right? Now, how is it that there's a ton of Carcass worship bands and they all do really, really well? Yet, when it comes down to Carcass doing Carcass don't do Carcass. I think they're missing a whole thing. And I'm about to blow everyone's mind here and freak out all the vinyl people. All right, check out this one. Look at that vinyl, baby.
That's bullshit.
This is going to be what
that
my
makes me
album's-
angry.
Oh,
Makes me
dude,
angry.
check it out. I can fan myself because I'm getting a little bit
Stupid. So dumb. What a waste.
It's this. sounds exactly like you would think it's going to sound, and that's not bad, right? It's really, really good, but it's not like Reek sounding Carcass. It's more like Necroticism sounding Carcass. So it's right in that sweet spot, which I love them. And this is a band from Mexico. Good luck finding anything else. This sold out in minutes. Unreal. I don't know if it's more gimmicky than anything else. I know they did have another demo, but like it's 5 songs on this little flimsy thing. I'm pretty sure it's all on the one side too.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
Oh man, and check it out. Like I don't even know. Like I've played this one time. I don't know if you can see it, but can you see the hole in it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is like 6 holes in this thing, and I played it one time. I reckon that's going to add to not only the worth of this, but like how cool this sounds. But look, you can hear it.
It's ridiculous because the needles
awesome.
just to dig through that. It's just a piece of paper, you know.
Yeah, it's just a cool merchandise item. That's
It's
all
dumb,
it is.
but it's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I love it. Stupid waste of money, but I own it.
Don't listen to it too much. Whatever you do. It's a finite amount of listens, probably 8 or 10. You're going to be like, hey, wait a minute.
People are going to be going, "Wow, you're holding that vinyl." Yeah, but my fingerprints. It won't. Fingerprints can go on this. It makes it sound way better. But holes, extra drum beats.
A rare occasion where you actually prefer it on cassette format in terms of durability.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you do kindly get the digital files when you buy it. Thank the Lord. But it's just a really cool sounding bunch of songs. I think everyone who likes Carcass, you will love Ambulance. Go check that out.
Right on. Interesting.
Little Jake.
All right, Alan.
All right, so I said the April to May playlist was Stoner Doom. Or Stoner Thrash. We started with the Thrash. So what was on the Stoner component? This album, of course. Caius, Blues for the Red Sun. Their second album, and where they really kind of find their sound. The debut album I've heard a couple of times. It's never really done a ton for me. It feels like a band that's trying to do something unique, but hasn't quite got their direction yet. Haven't heard it in quite a while, but it's not one I've ever really attached myself to. But Blues for the Red Sun is an excellent album that I go way back with. And it's a strange one, Caius. While there's lots of bands that have populated this whole desert rock and stoner vibe, and the band always kind of considered themselves more of a desert rock. They liked that term a lot more than stoner. So, and of course, then history put them in the other bin. Why bands hate labels, I suppose. But not much to say about this one. Folks will know it. It's a great combination of that heavy, warm, fuzzy kind of 70s sound. But you also get good doses of, spacey psychedelia mixed in along the way too. It's not just slow and plodding or just trying to be crushingly heavy. They do lots of little quirky things throughout the album. And more often than not, those quirky little things work extremely well. This album, I think, starts off really good. They do have 2 very heavy numbers to begin it with Thumb and Green Machine. That's a great one punch to just get things really rolling. But yeah, after that, they allow it to move and breathe in different directions while always having a particular sound and identity at the core. Lots of tracks through it I like. Even stuff late in the track list like Writhe is extremely fun to listen to. Didn't last very long as a band, unfortunately. The album after this is excellent as well. For a long time, I've gone back and forth on which of the 2 I like better. I tend to play this one a lot more often, but Caius / AKA Welcome to Sky Valley is fantastic.
I love that record. A perfect riff record.
I love it too. Yeah, I just, for whatever reason, in recent years, this is the one I reach for if I want to play just like one dose of Caius. Even And the Circus Leaves Town has its moments. It's not as strong as the 2 that came before it, but it's still worth listening to. It's still got the same overall sound. You can just kind of tell that they were already checking out, I think. But so you mix some 1985 Megadeth thrash with some 92 Caius Desert Rock, and that's very much my headspace for late April and well into May. Stoner thrash. I just like the way it sounds.
When I said, isn't that already a genre that was made, you said stoner doom.
Okay,
instead
yeah,
of thrash. It was you misspoke, and I said, isn't that already a thing? And then now I see what you meant.
Yes, that would be a thing. Yeah. But yeah, the stoner and thrash, I don't know of a band that calls themselves stoner thrash, but it quite possibly is out there somewhere. Maybe someone in the chat knows stoner thrash and can point us towards bands that have tried to blend the two.
I think stoner thrash exists. It's just it turns into doom because I don't think weed inspires technical.
That's why, the two just thrash.
They cancel each other out, don't they?
Yeah, one's more aggressive and one's more laid back, and maybe that's how you end up with artists like Nelson.
Oh,
you just cancel everything out, and there's nothing left in the middle.
Yeah.
Anyway, while we ponder that mystery, Marty, show us something else you've been listening to lately.
Turn Back Trilobite. You think that's stoner thrash? Oh man, I bought that record and I was disappointed with their shift.
That's an interesting one, Tycho. Yeah, I haven't heard that in ages. It's definitely different than what they did prior to that. It is a lot slower, but it does have a thrashy component.
Very narrative vocals too. It's like kind of talking over the songs. Like fuck, man.
It could be. I don't know if it has a stoner component, but it definitely has a doomy component. And there have been a few bands that have tried doing doomy thrash. It's hard to pull off well in my experience because, again, the two styles cancel each other out a little bit. But Turn Back Trilobite's an interesting possibility. I haven't heard it in so long I can't really comment to its stonerisms. But Tycho knows his stuff. If he's proposing it, there's a good chance it fits. I would take that bet on his word.
Evan Williams says Dream Death has a doom thrash thing going, which is kind of true. Now,
there's a band that does make it work. I know I like that album more than you do, Marty, but Dream Death, Journey into Mystery, there you get that kind of Celtic frost worship, but taken out of the Hellhammer mold, and they focus on the slower parts, but it still has the thrash backbone. Seventh Angel is doom thrash. That's a UK band. Did a couple of albums. So there's a few that have gotten into doom thrash. We just need to find a doomy thrash band that inhales a lot more and get into that stoner thrash territory. But yeah, good suggestions, folks. All right, Marty, It is your turn.
Well, me and the kid, my kid has his own account now. But it's infected. It's spreading like a virus, and that is Whatnot, the online service. It's an app. It's like bidding. It's like eBay, but you bid in real time, and there's a guy talking, showing off what he has. And we have a couple metal channels we frequent. Hellborn Distro. Cheers to Daniel, who might be watching. Maybe not. Just got a package from the other day, and when he showed this one, I'm like, what's that? Orden Ogan. This is the book of, I can't read that font.
It even looks like a book.
The book of, I can't read that font. I can't read the word. Anyway, it's a 4-disc thing. I'm like, how much you got to have for that? And he's like, $22. I'm like, I could buy that for $22. It's got 2 DVDs in it, some live stuff, music videos. It's got a best of CD, which I listened to today, and it also has their Testimonium AD demo from 2004. Nice big booklet. The things open up. It's a very fancy thing. And basically, it inspired me to pull this off the shelf and listen to this today as well, to the end. This is my favorite Orden Ogan album. This is when they still had a bit of the melodic death metal vibe to them. They hadn't really fallen into that super commercial songwriting trope that kind of infected Angus McSix as well. Do the chorus a bunch of times. The chorus is the main part of the song. And at the end, you raise the chorus up a key for more triumphant power. That kind of infected this band. And, since the main guy also does all the music for Angus McSix, so you're getting kind of 2 bands doing the same thing, just various costume changes. But yeah, this album, I love it. I think every song on here is great. The choruses are super memorable. The songs themselves have kind of a hypocrisy vibe with a 7-string every once in a while. Nice, heavy crunch riffs, some good melody lines, but good singing, good vocals. Man, I like this band. So yeah, this was kind of a cool thing to collection. Me and the kid will probably watch the Blu-ray or the DVDs this week. And Whatnot. Damn it. You're gonna be seeing a bunch of Whatnot shit. And this Hellborn distro I checked, and I have 13 CDs coming from him. So last Saturday, of course, a lot of them are for the kid. He ran out of money, so I started, you got to have this, you got to have that. We'll talk about that here in a minute, too. So, the sickness. Lee, are you down with the sickness?
You get one of those little like contagion monkeys in your house now, infecting everybody.
Yeah, I want one out the back. You know, like they got the YouTube awards. I want one of those monkeys that sits there and just like says, "You need that. You'll never listen to it, but you should have it." So this is a friend's.
So you know what we need for that kind of award, Julie? Would be perfect. Get one of those like little monkey shine things with the symbols, but have it holding like two little records that it's like smashing together, like play, buy. Those monkeys creep.
You don't need it. You don't need it, but you're gonna grab it.
But you're gonna buy it because I told you to. Because if you don't, I'll stab you in your night.
You can't I get excited. I walk into a record store and I know what I want, but I'll see all the colors and I'll see like that metal section in the back, and suddenly everything just goes, it's gone. I don't know what I'm looking for.
Suddenly you're 16 years old again. I gotta have this. Gotta have this. Gotta have this. Gotta have this.
Yeah, but I get this weird sweat. I can't stop sweating, and I don't know what that is when I'm sitting there looking at something, and if someone is a little bit too close, you know what I mean? You feel like it then becomes a sport, and you got to like edge them out the way in case they see there's something that's in the S that you haven't gotten to yet because you're still on the fucking D's, and I haven't got there, so you don't be jumping ahead. You start at the A's like a gentleman and move forward. Like that's how I get. I don't know where it comes from. As soon as I enter a record store.
Oh, someone did this to me this past week in the record store. Yes, I mean I'm starting at the A, working along slowly, and
Don't jump the queue, Alan.
This lady came along, and she was like jumping, like like from this part to this part to this part, and just like, what are you doing? It's just like, what are you doing? Just pick a row and look through it, and it's like, and then like, of course, she's over there. Then she's right up here, on my right side. Then she's like behind me looking at something else. Then she's back over here wanting to look in the same row I'm at. I'm just like, just go away.
It drives me nuts, and I just get so much anxiety because I don't go into them all that often. And when I do, I'm like, this is all I'm going to get. It never works. But online buying works for me because I can just go straight to that thing, hit the buy button, and off I go. So this is a friend's band, but this is a band that normally I wouldn't go for just because as I go on, you kind of get the idea. But Mordant Red. Now, Mordant Red is the sound of the wheels just about to fall off. But when they're about to fall off, that's when the magic happens, right? So I've seen this band live a ton of times. And this is like, it does have punk in it. And I'm not a punk fan. I'm not a hardcore fan. But Revik is a big punk and hardcore guy. And it's something where you really got to witness it. It's like a Kiss show. You got to witness it. It's on a much smaller scale. But nothing ever goes right for this band when they're on stage. And that's the magic. And that's when everyone just like it raises the bar of what they do. And I think that's why, like I've predicted that this is one of these bands that in 20 years time you'll look at and you'll go, shit, man, I should have gone and seen them live. And, they're playing up here in a week or two, and I'm going to head up, to, I think it's to Maryland, I think, to go see them. But every time I see them, they never fail to disappoint. But if you like a little bit of Judas Iscariot, and pick a punk band that I don't care about, mix them together, and then add a shit ton of chaos, Mordant Red is your guy. And all the stories that you hear, I don't know if he does have a YouTube channel, and he is very very prolific on that, and the stories aren't bullshit. You can look at them and go, that's probably there for just story time. But speaking to the guy and watching them without the masks and watching them get together, and it's 100% real. It only depends on which one of them did it, is where the truth blends, which I think adds to stuff like this, where I've never really known a Judas Iscariot or a Dark Throne in the flesh, so I've only ever heard the stories and hope that they're somewhat true, because that's what I hear when I'm listening to the album. This is one of those things where I can picture every single story in every single song. And they're not serious, but they're deadly serious at the same time. So, I mean, if you haven't heard this band, I don't know where you are if you haven't, but if you haven't heard Mordant Red, this is one of those things that I think one day is going to be cult status. And I own everything except, and this is going to be a little bit, people hate me when I do this, but they've just put out a split. And my problem is that with it is that I can't buy just the Mordant Red side of it. Okay, I do have a fake fight going on with the Lord Humongous crew, and as much as I think they're a great band, I'm not a big fan of like a band from PA pulling the Australian card. And I hold the Mad Max trilogy very close as part of my culture, and I just don't see how a PA band can pull it. However, I do have some of their stuff, and I do enjoy it. I just can't look at it because it's Mad Max. And I'm like, you're from fucking PA. How the shit are you doing Mad Max? Pick something from your state, damn it. So that's my gripe. But everything that that he's put out, I have everything on most formats. So great band. Go and see them when they're in your part of town.
All right, Alan.
All right. Oh, Wade, that's a really great price on that Triptychon you found. Congrats. Yeah, that's a good album. Okay, let's see. This round I'm supposed to go back to the thrash side, but I want to stay in 1985 with another classic one. I wish Devin was in the chat right now, Maze of Torment, because this one has Devin written all over it, and you'll see why in a second. Same record excursion, also picked up a copy of Exodus, Bonded by Blood. Folks know this one well. We don't have to talk about it in depth. What was cool about this particular copy, though, and the reason I ended up picking it up, was that, get it over here, it did have the insert with it, which was nice, but that's not why I bought it. I bought it because of the pressing. It's a combat, but ever see this particular version of a combat label before?
No, the green is typically first press, but not like that.
Yeah, it's the wrong green, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a Brazilian pressing.
Ah, so it's a bootleg.
No, I checked. I actually looked into it. No, it was a legit 80s combat pressing for Brazil. So it's not considered a boot pressing. That's really darn cool. And as a Brazilian pressing, the guy he had a original, U.S. combat press too, which was a lot more expensive. It was like, I don't need that, but this is neat and was much cheaper. So yeah, I brought this home as well. I had never seen a Brazilian combat press before, but yeah, you can dig it up on Discogs. It was apparently a thing. Interesting that Bonded by Blood got a South American pressing at that time. It's, the classic album, of course, Bailoff on vocals. The big what if question that always surrounds this album, and it is an interesting one to ponder, is what would have happened, not just to Exodus, but to thrash metal in general, if this had come out, quote unquote, on time, like in very early 1984 or the tail end of 83 when Kill 'Em All and Show No Mercy were dropping. Because Exodus, was essentially kind of first on the scene in the Bay Area. They were well established very early on, but you had the delay in them getting the record out. The demos were out there. Everybody on the scene knew the name, but there was not an album to buy in stores until 1985. Well, hell, by that time, you've already got 2 Metallica albums out. You've already got 2 Slayer albums out. These other bands kind of passed them by just because they got the record deals earlier and started cranking out the product earlier. It doesn't hurt this album in any way, shape, or form. It's still a classic old school thrash metal staple, but in a way, that delay seems like it always relegated Exodus to second tier status in the greater world of heavy metal. People there, the purists, the diehards who had been watching them play in Ruthie's Inn since 1983, understood the situation. But the rest of the world, who only first heard of Exodus when they walked into a record store and saw this on the shelf for the first time, it always meant that, Exodus seemed like they came along later, that they were the second wave of bands coming out of that scene, not part of the first wave. So Exodus, I don't know. Would thrash have played out differently if this was one of the first 2 or 3 albums that came out? Who knows? Can't say. But it's always just one of those kind of fascinating what if questions. There's one of those alternate multiple universes out there where this album drops like 2 weeks after Kill 'Em All, and something is different about the course of heavy metal moving forward. I don't know what, but there's some ripple effect change if this comes out 18 months ahead of time. But yeah, thought it was cool. Wanted Devin to see it. I've picked up some weird pressings on different thrash albums from time to time. I've got like a weird South American creator album, some Japanese ones. And Devin's just always kind of like, where do you find these weird pressings? So Devin, if you're watching this after the fact, was thinking of you when I picked this one up. Another cool, weird thrash metal pressing for the collection.
Cool find. All right. Well, this one here, I still don't know what I think about this. I don't really even know how to pronounce this. Eschure. Ishura? I don't know. It's a one-woman black metal project. Sure. One-woman black metal project from Ukraine. I think she does have someone on here helping her with drums. This is a challenging listen. I, for one, really do enjoy the ambition of it. And sometimes her vocals really fit the spirit of this. It's raw. I mean, and she has a very shrill, raw, screaming style. On the more straight up black metal tracks, it really works well. Other songs, she's kind of going over the top, kind of a wailing screams type of style that kind of amplifies the ritualistic side of this record. This came out on Iron Bonehead, by the way. I'm a little mixed on what I think about it. It sounds a little undercooked. Like I said, a little bit more ambitious maybe than her skills are capable of at this point. But like I said, when she sticks to just raw black metal, it works pretty well for me. But when she starts adding in the other things, I appreciate the effort, but I find it to be a little bit more grating than it is grating on my senses than it is appealing. But yeah, it's cool pressing, gatefold, there's a poster in there, and not something I'm going to pursue unless it really gets a bit more impressive from here on out. But yeah, the name of this one is The Shadow. Sorry, I did not mention that. Iechure. Iechure? I don't know. The Shadow is the name of the album. Check it out. If you can figure out how to pronounce it, let me know. Lee.
Going back to Australia because, I'm getting a little bit homesick.
Homesick,
obviously.
apparently.
Yeah, I know. I did this on purpose. I was like, I'm going to get some Australian stuff out the way, but I got some good stuff which I don't think anyone of you have heard of. But this one everyone's heard of because I don't think this band ever put a foot wrong.
Hold on. Before you do this, I got to say,
Yes.
Simon, Jeff, Frederick, anybody I have come in contact with from Australia are so proud of their music scene. And that is really, I think as Americans, we're like, it is what it is. I've always preferred maybe Europe sometimes, but the Australians really are fucking proud of their music scene and go out of their way to promote it, want to talk about it. I think that's cool. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I think it's because we were so far away and we knew all about the American bands, but I don't think the Americans knew about what was going on in Australia. So we kind of held this very dear to us. And when we saw Metallica come over, we're like, well, we have Mortal Sin, right? When we saw Megadeth, we had, XYZ. We had Sadistic Execution. We had these bands, but maybe, we had a complex about always being looked at as the lesser than or whatever the Australian underdog thing is. But like, this is one of those bands that ended up worldwide and everyone loved them. But man, when Bloodduster came out, man, they were our boys. This is like Carcass groove, right? This is more groove than any death metal band should have. And just the cool samples. This isn't the good cover either. This is the reissued, toned down one. But this has all those cool samples from the Peter Jackson movies. If you've ever seen Dead Alive or whatever you guys called it.
I kick ass for the Lord.
I kick ass for the Lord. He's one of those guys that roots corpses. I love it. You can't get enough of it. And it's just this album. And every single song. And let's put it, this has got the... it's got 53 fucking songs on it. Like, there's not a bad one on it. I mean, it may have a few samples that are listed as songs, but goddamn, like any Blood Duster album, I think you can't really go wrong. And they just sound cool. And I think there was the story, I believe it to be true. I think I read an article about it. Their very last album that they recorded, when they pressed it to vinyl, they got the master and they wrote the word C-U-N-T across the master and put that into production. So it was completely unplayable. So they wrote this album that you could never hear because that's what Blood Duster do. So those stories, I don't even care if they're true. That is Australian law. So I'll stand with these guys. But Blood Duster, you've all got it or you've all heard it. I love this band.
Fun band. 100%.
It is.
Yep.
Great band.
All right, Ellen.
Yeah, and Tycho was about to reply, but I've heard the name Teramis. I don't know if I have anything by them. It feels like one of those names I've heard, but probably haven't checked out. That's interesting if they're like a kind of an Australian Fates Warning. All right, let's see. This round's back to the stoner doomy side of things, and found this really cheap and picked it up. I know Marty's recommended it before, and so it was time to check out the first High on Fire album, The Art of Self-Defense. Different cover art than what some folks may be used to. But now this is not a band I know in a lot of depth. A couple of years ago, the Album Club on Wednesday night was covering the band's second album. And Marty wasn't available. I filled in and ended up really liking that one. But I had heard the third one, and with the third one, there was a lineup change. The third one is Blessed Black Wings, and that one I've tried a few times. The sound just isn't for me. But I remember that both you and Kellen had spoken very highly of the first one, so it was another one of those things. Just put it in the back of my head. I don't need to run out and buy it. I'm not paying $18.99 plus $7.50 shipping plus $2.50 for tax and all this other BS. I'll stumble across it someday cheap and I'll give it a shot. And that day finally happened right around the end of April. So yeah, this of course is, Matt Pike. And I can definitely say I appreciate his work in High on Fire more than his work in his previous band.
Easily.
I get that it's kind of the same guitar tone, but with High on Fire, he's really putting it into, crunchier song format, not just long, rather tedious, play the same notes for 53 minutes. So I get that it's the same guy and has the same sound. I just like the vehicle that he built with these first two High on Fire albums a lot more than the stuff that he did with Sleep. Sleep, if folks are into them, that's absolutely fine. Just not the band for me. But yeah, this one's been pretty fun. It's definitely got a little bit of a rawer sound than what is the second one called? Den of Thieves? Surrounded by Thieves. Is that it?
Yeah, Surrounded by Thieves.
Surrounded by Thieves, yeah. So yeah, this one sounds, a little more raw, a little more edgy than that one, which makes sense since this was the first one that came out. But yeah, it fit perfectly with this whole stoner thrash mindset that became my playlist for several weeks. This was the kind of stuff I was wanting on the stonerish side, where it's still, pretty heavy, pretty crunchy, but not just traditional doom per se. I eventually wandered into traditional doom territory, and we'll get there later in the evening. But yeah, this was the perfect find to fit into that playlist. So yeah, glad I finally got to check this one out. Cool album, fun listen. Don't think I'll be digging much deeper in the High on Fire catalog, though. It seems like this original lineup, those are probably the albums for me. And after that, if Blessed Black Wings is any indication, then I found my stopping point. And that's okay. I'm good with that.
That album has riffs, and there's just such a flowing presence to it. It's like it's bleeding, like the song is bleeding out. But it's unlike something like Jerusalem or Dope Smoker, where it's just the same hammering over and over and over. There's actually songs here, and there's a awesome vibe to it. I love that record. It's a good record.
Yeah, instead of bleeding out, those sleep albums make you feel like you're just kind of drooling out of the corner of your mouth as it literally puts you to sleep. Hey, maybe that was the point of the name.
It's like an IV drip of melatonin. Those fucking albums are terrible. Yeah.
Just not for me. I know a lot of folks dig them, and that's fine.
Not for me.
All right, Marty, take it away.
All right. Well, let's. I don't know if I showed this on here or not. We do show a few things at the beginning of the album clubs, but the local record shop got in a few, I guess, glam or hard rock, whatever you want to call it, tapes, and I scored on Kingdom Come. I think this is the debut. For $2, $4. I gotta say, I was quite shocked how much I enjoyed this record. I've listened to it 3 or 4 times. It isn't really hair metal per se. It's just really heavy bluesy rock. A little bit of a Led Zeppelin vibe through it, and I'm not a big Led Zeppelin fan, but when Led Zeppelin influences these rock bands, I can get with that. But I don't really have a lot to say about this because it's just kind of cut and dried, but, Pushing Hard. There's a track name. I don't know. I was surprised how much I enjoyed this. I bought it on a kind of a chuckle, thinking, I also got like 3 Striper tapes too, which I used to have back in the day, and I bought them again. I haven't brought myself to sit down and be annoyed by them yet, so they're still sitting out there for that night. I'm like, fuck it, I'm listening to some God metal, but here we go. Kingdom Come. I would recommend this if you are kind of on the fence like I am and don't want to go full glam metal. This is definitely, I think, a safe spot to start. Good heavy rock. A lot of blues in it. Good guitar playing. Good singer. Good production. All of the benefits of the era where, big late would this come out on. This came out on, well, I can't see anything because I'm old and blind. But it's on a major label, so they had money behind it. It sounds good. It's worth listening to. All right, Lee.
All right, we're going to go across the oceans. All right, I'm not going to bore you with another Australian one, but there's a guy on YouTube named. I love YouTube. All right, I love looking at different things in people's lives and different stuff. But this is a guy. His name is Boris T. He's in a band called Triglove.
Yeah.
Triglove.
Yeah.
Sorry, Triglove. Try my glove. Well, I got the album. Now, my wife bought this for me for a birthday gift, and it's really cool. It's like it's not bad. It's very melodic black metal. I love melody and everything. That's why look, glam's a big thing for me. I grew up with it. I love the traditional stuff, and I love big choruses. This is one of those bands that I guess the purists might say is YouTube metal. I guess I don't know, but
good.
it's just really strong songs. And the guy was originally a drummer, taught himself how to play guitar. So you can see how I've somehow gravitated towards this, and has a really cool story. Just the guy was in Italy, now he's in Norway, and now he's playing like Hellfest and stuff. So it's a pretty cool kind of character arc, I think, for someone like this. It kind of shows that, I guess, when you like the old Hammer over here with all the black metal success and accolades, you can do anything if you believe in yourself, like Disney would have told us. But yeah, it's just it's not going to change your life, but for something that if you just want to, drive to the shops and get a Snickers or something, this is one of those albums that just sits. It's just not offensive. It's just probably, again, a negative against that, but it's just very strong songs. And if you kind of are into that story behind what he did and how he did it, very, very cool album for how he managed to pull it off. So my hat's off to old Boris T. His channel gets a little bit cringy though, right? There's a few things in it where I'm like, why are you touching that? But you can't. He does write some cool songs.
I think that's the correct spelling there. Tryglav. Is that it? Tryglav.
Yes.
Yeah. And people they don't like him because he's clickbaity. Well, that is why his channel's popular. And being a solo performer, your YouTube channel it's tapped into an algorithm. It's got the numbers. You can promote your band. People on festivals see that as converting to people showing up to watch you play. And I hate to break it to the world that Europe has more of an infrastructure for bands there's how many festivals are there throughout Europe? A bunch. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had Jürgen on before, and he says in Germany alone, there's so many you can't even hardly count them.
Yeah, and it's a different one every month easily, just in Germany probably.
Yeah, and it's just smaller countries, and it's easier to get people to join the ranks of your band and go play these shows. So, I mean, don't hate the player, hate the game, I guess. And he's funny. He does what he does. He's playing the YouTube game, and he's winning. And that's bad for some folks, but I don't know. I don't think his music's bad either. I don't mind his stuff. I haven't bought any of the records yet, but every time I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, this is good. It falls into it's doing the right stuff. Good melodic, dissonant black metal, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Alan.
Yeah. It is a little weird how your social media footprint has become one of the measuring tapes that promoters are using to determine what bands to hype or to bring on stage.
No, because
I get why, but at the same time, those numbers can be manipulated so easily.
True.
If you know what you're doing, you just set up a few bots to keep revisiting your site every 30 seconds or whatever, and you can look like you've got a legion of followers. And if that's the metric that some promoter is looking at, and they're not considering other things, man, you could really get ripped off pretty badly having a band that doesn't have much of a following show up when you're expecting them to be selling tickets hand over fist. I'm just always surprised that people keep falling for those kind of things, knowing, or at least they should be knowing, how easy it is for an artist or somebody else, to really fudge those numbers. It's such an easy thing to do. That's just not the metric you should be going by.
Really, I agree. But you look at like Boris, for example, he does little vlogs on their shows and people come to watch him. So he does have some stake in his numbers. And
yeah,
I see.
And that's fine if you dig into the numbers and see that there's more to it. That's okay, because for some of them, those numbers are going to be legit. But I guess that's the point. That can't be the only litmus test that someone's doing. If you and unfortunately it is for a lot of people, it's just quick surface skim. Number. Yeah, I'll use that. So do you have any context for where that number came from? If you don't, you're asking for trouble.
Yep. Asking for trouble. And the labels, the way they're all set up in marketing now, they want the bands they sign to have done all the work for them. They want to sign people that already have a story behind them. It used to be fun to help try to build up a band's name, but it isn't fun anymore. And a lot of it happens where the bands that you spend time building up, they get picked up by the bigger labels because you've already done a certain extent of the work for them.
Yep.
So it's just part of the game. Again, don't hate the player, hate the game. Alan.
Especially if that game is Monopoly, because God, that takes forever and never goes anywhere.
Yep. And then someone hits the fucking board accidentally.
The cat runs through the middle of it, and all the little hotels are scattered everywhere. Back to the thrash side of Stoner Thrash Month for Alan. I have listened to a lot of old Sepultura over the past month, so I picked Morbid Visions to help represent that. This, of course, has Bestial Invasion, as pretty much every pressing done later on is going to have those tracks added as well. Sepultura, my introduction to them was Arise when that came out in 91, 92. And for whatever reason, I never really worked backwards with Sepultura. I followed them for a couple of albums forward, Chaos AD, and then Roots, and then I never listened to any of their new albums ever again. Sorry, that was not a direction I wanted to go. But for a long time, I didn't work backwards through the catalog. And I don't really know why. This one in particular, I would see around, even in used bins quite a bit. You could tell, like, people would get Chaos ID, think they were great, run out and buy this album and sell it back pretty fast. But yeah, it wasn't until years and years later that I started like, oh yeah, maybe I should go back and hear, Beneath the Remains and Schizophrenia and such. So it's not a part of their catalog I've got this long 30-year history with, like many people do. But I've really enjoyed I've been in a Sepultura mood. And so this, Schizophrenia, and Beneath the Remains all they stayed in the CD player for weeks. They were a big part of this whole stoner thrash thing. It's fun stuff. This early on, of course, they're still pretty sloppy. We know the backstory. I'm not going to elaborate on it a ton. But, they're still pretty sloppy. They're still learning their instruments. They're still getting the hang of singing and writing in English, piecing it together as best they could. But that does bring a certain charm with it. The more and more I played this, the more it kept bringing me back to things like, the earliest days of Sodom, in particular, among the German thrash bands, where it's like, it's kind of bad, but it's bad in a really good way that makes you want to keep playing it again and again. Other South American bands too. There'll be another one in the playlist here, maybe next round. But it's been really fun revisiting these because I hadn't played them for a year or two. Of course, after this, each album, they rapidly improved. They kept stepping up their game a lot. And it paid off. Long term, they're still going. They've had all kinds of successful careers, other bands and stuff. So can't begrudge them any of that at all. But I really have had a lot of fun just going back and listening to the very raw, primal. We barely know what we're doing. We just want to sound like Celtic Frost and Sodom and stuff like that. And they did so pretty darn well. So been fun spinning Morbid Visions and the other early Sepultura stuff.
All right. I'm getting a little bit of information because I don't remember.
Nope, it's all good.
All right. Well, my old buddy Lee was on one of his streams talking about how much this album, he likes this record. And I'm like, really? Okay. And so I went and found it on Whatnot for $8. Pariah by Nagelfar. This is the band's, Swedish Nagelfar. Mm-hmm. Minus the E. The German band has the E in their name. And this is their fourth album. I was always a Vitra fan. I like that record a lot. Right. Diabolical, they started to lose me a little bit.
Same here.
Jens Ryden's voice was very one-dimensional, but it worked really well on Vitra. This here is a different guy singing, and it's really good. It's solid. It's well-produced. There's great drum performance on here, a lot of speed. The songs have a lot of dynamics to them, a lot of melody, a lot of venom. It's a good, not Venom the band, but like, intent, spiteful venom coming out of the tracks. It's I think the most annoying thing about this is the modern Photoshop tinkering in the design and we're going to make the art the text crooked and do this stupid big label shit. But other than that, it is a solid album. I was kind of surprised. I was expecting to be kind of on the fence about it. Talented but don't care. But no, there was enough dynamics and songwriting acumen going on here that it stuck with me. So I've spun this a good 2 or 3 times. You're right, Lee. Good one. Yeah, it makes me wonder what else I've missed in their catalog, having heard their first 2 records, liking the first one and liking this one. So what do you think? Is there any more recommendations here?
Well, I've never heard anything after that. I didn't think it was worth it. But however, the bass player became the singer, I believe. But dude, that guy's bald head and that snarl.
Yeah.
The back cover, that sold me like, boom, I want this album. So I kind of like that. But I think also too, if you were to marry up the times, there was a big Hellraiser theme running through Death and Black. Yeah. Especially Death. There was all chains, the dismember
and decent and obscene, that whole photo shoot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a feeling the Hellraiser themes were running really hot and rampant through that album.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. And you're back up, sir. And thanks for the recommendation. It turned out to be, and it just happened to show up on Whatnot. I'm like, hey, I know. Wait a minute, I'm gonna check this out now. Okay, $8.
Stay
Fuck
tuned,
yeah.
because I got some more, which you're gonna rather roll your eyes, or you're gonna go, wow, really? Everyone knows these bands, but they piss me off to the point where they always misstep, or they do something to just mess up this great legacy that they have. But again, they're so influential in the fact that I wanted to sound like both of these bands at the same time, and I figured with my very rudimentary be able to play and completely shithouse production value, I would achieve this in a heartbeat, only to find out that this is really hard to achieve. All right, now these two guys, I put them in the same boat. Right, you got your Bathory, you got your Hellhammer. Now they're just basic. This is almost at some point like a kind of a quickened sludge band in my thing. The riffs are just 3-4 notes maybe.
Well, the juvenile nature of it makes it feel almost punk. You know?
Yeah, and the same reason I like the Sepultura and the same reason I like the Sodom is that at any time anything can go wrong, right? And it could just fall over and be a complete mess, but it doesn't quite do it. It hangs on, skin of the teeth type of stuff. And Bathory, the complete opposite, where Bathory went on to do this album, which this is my favorite album, not because I like the songs. It's just because there's something about this album that makes me keep going back to it. I know it the best, though I love the first three more than I love this one. But if I'm picking up Bathory, it's always this, because I'm like, I have to love this. And I don't understand why I don't. And it keeps punching me in the face, but I keep going back to it. To the point where I've wanted to write songs in the vein of this for so long, just because I don't understand how or why this album is so enticing to me, and Hellhammer's probably got that same thing where it sounds like, 16-year-olds, they probably were that age, but they wrote it and recorded it, and they probably thought it was the next Metallica, but turns out it was, maybe something adjacent further on down the track. But these two, I will, regardless of what's going on in my week, bad day, good day, whatever, like at work, there's at least a Bathory and there's at least a Celtic Frost being spun, and it can be in a mix. I'll go back to there's a great playlist on YouTube, which is a Fenres made playlists, and both of these bands are on it, and bands that I haven't really heard of that sound very similar to these guys. And I'm like, wow, this is just a really cool period in time that's never coming back. I don't think you're ever going to find anything like this again. And there's just some magic to it that it was just so immature, and I wish I could go back and relive just this mid-'80s type of thing, because it was such a cool time to buy albums. Or steal them off your brother. That was pretty much what I was doing.
It's really funny, having lived through these eras, and then I watched something the other day. It happened twice, within a month. I saw something like a news report based in the 80s, and then I also saw something on a documentary on music in the 90s. And just the look of both of them was like a time warp. The cars looked fucking different, especially the 80s. The cars were like living rooms rolling down the street. Yeah. My dad, I grew up driving a 77 Ford Thunderbird, and my first vehicle was a 77 GMC Jimmy, full size hunk of rolling death. It's just, you see these damn clips and I'm like, God, do we look that different? Has things changed so much? It's weird how each era has a look, and it seems to be dictated by the clothing and the cars. It's weird. Anyway, this is a complete aside, but you talked about wanting to go back and relive that, and every once in a while I'll put on a piece of music that takes me back to that time, and it's such a fond feeling. It's like, man, if I could just spin it back a little bit just to feel hearing this record for the first time again or something like that. It's very nostalgic. Nostalgia can be a very it can be a thing for sure.
But there are
happy
some
thing and a
albums-
sad thing too.
There are some albums you put on and they can be the same year even, but I can't tell you what I was doing when I bought it. But there's some albums that I can tell you what T-shirt I was wearing when I picked it up. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
not that I may like one more or whatever, but it's just for some reason it just has anchored in my brain that this. I remember sitting down at a friend's house and we ate lunch and we listened to this thing because it just popped in the mail and we laughed our asses off at it. But I never forgot that. And I've not really had that experience as an adult, which is sad, really, right? So I'm always trying to chase it, which is where I think I've got to buy every freaking vinyl or whatever it is from different colors because for some, I may be able to get some of that back, but you never do. I don't know why you chase that.
Well, we get older, and the thrill of buying a new record, it means something different when you can go buy as many as you want because you usually have more of a disposable income, and the thrill, the dopamine hit lasts less and less and less and less and less. And anyway, we've been a whole nother topic. Alan,
We'll try to steer around that rabbit hole tonight a little bit.
Yeah, make it fun, Alan.
Oh no, I guess I know exactly what you're talking about. No, it happens to all of us. Let's see. This round it's the stonerish side of things, and we'll use Cathedral, the Carnival Bazaar. I stumbled into a bunch of used Cathedral CDs. Yeah, again, right there, kind of late April, early May timeframe. I hadn't revisited Cathedral in a long time. I've always liked Forest of Equilibrium. I always had trouble with stuff after Forest of Equilibrium because they get a little goofy at times, which is what had kind of stuck with me. But I was like, standing here looking at these in the used bin, when's the last time I saw Cathedral in a used bin or even a new bin? It's one of those bands that to me, kind of to Lee's point, I can remember very easily standing in different record stores over the years, seeing copies of Cathedral albums sitting there for weeks at a time whenever I'd stop by. To me, it seems like the kind of thing I should be able to walk into any record store right now and pick up a copy of if I want it. But of course, you can't. These albums are now pushing, or some of them are over 30 years old. They're not laying around as easily for sale. Sure, if you hop online and want to special order them, you can find most of them. I was surprised poking around with Discogs, even a few of the Cathedral things you really can't find cheaper than the $18.99 and $9 to ship it, and it'll take them 2 weeks, and they'll put it in a frickin' paper envelope, so the case will be smashed to pieces. Good thing I paid $8.50 in shipping plus sales tax for that. I'm standing here holding it in my hand. It's $5 a piece. Let's just rake some of those in, and you know what? I'm giving Cathedral another chance. And it worked out fairly well. Some of the albums I like more than others. This one in particular stood out. Carnival Bazaar, I know some of the songs off of this because I think I had one of the EPs that came out around this time. I did not ever own this album before, but I owned the Hopkins Witchfinder General EP that came out. So I knew that song, and that's an old favorite, one of their best known and most loved tracks. But to my delight and surprise, a lot of the stuff on this album follows suit from that song. I was always under the impression that Hopkins was a little bit of an outlier in terms of being a little more of an intense rocker for Cathedral. But no, the first 3 songs all work in that vein. You've got, the titles on the back of this thing are impossible to read. Labels, don't put light red font on a marbled background. That does not work.
no.
But no, we've got Vampire Sun, Hopkins, and Utopian Blaster as a 1-2-3 punch. I'm already sold. I don't care if the rest of the album sounds like crap. I'm keeping this because those 3 songs are excellent. But yeah, very fun stuff. I think they strike a good balance here where it still has a very heavy doom component, but they are working in a lot of fun stuff without it sounding too trite or too cheesy or contrived or anything like that. They haven't gotten too goofy for their own good here. Yes, there are a few really, silly Huggy Bear inspired moments, perhaps, but they're quick. Yeah, they do the thing, they move on, and it's still crushingly heavy and good besides. So yeah, I'm glad I had a chance to dig back into the Cathedral catalog. And again, when I find a couple of the others for the right price on that day, I will dig them up. I'm in no hurry to go look for the ones I'm missing. But if I find them, I am going to give the others a chance. The catalog seems to be solid enough. Something else I guess I appreciate about Cathedral more in hindsight, that even though they get a little bit spacey, silly, weird at times, they obviously had a huge influence on a lot of the stuff that started to come out later in the 90s. For example, it's not in the stack of stuff I'll show tonight, but part of my whole stoner thrash playlist was going back to the first Orange Goblin album, Time Traveling Blues. And that album sounds good, but in playing it, what really made an impression on me was like, these guys listened to a lot of Cathedral. They really modeled themselves off to that sound, but they're not quite as good at it as Cathedral was around the Carnival Bazaar. Time Traveling Blues is an album I like, but I never really learned to love. So I don't go back to it, except when I'm really in the mood for that stuff like I've been lately. But yeah, this was the best of my Cathedral finds. Some of the others have been good too, but this one got stuck in the playlist for a long time. Very, very fun album. Cathedral doing it right.
When you say the band must have been listening to a lot of Cathedral and influenced by a lot of Cathedral, couldn't you say by way of process of elimination, you're really just listening to a lot of Black Sabbath? Because, I mean, what would Cathedral be without the Sabbath gene? Because it's so prominent, especially like the riffs on that Hopkins Witchfinder General. It's a catchy song. It's a good song, but it's fucking Sabbath in a lot of ways.
It's Sabbath, but it is Sabbath for a new generation. Yeah, it's an updated Sabbath. Like, I don't think Sabbath would ever have written a song like Utopian Blaster. Yes, they probably could have written Hopkins. Now that I agree with you. But when you do get into a little bit more of that sort of cosmic weirdness that starts to permeate those bands, that I think was something new that they brought in, or at least amplified. Sabbath could touch on that. Sabbath definitely had those proggy tendencies, but I think these bands that did approach that part of the equation from a different angle. So they obviously love Sabbath, and yes, that's obviously at the root of their sound. You're right. But I think they did introduce something new, or at least different enough, that they've never struck me. Don't think you would ever say Cathedral's a Sabbath clone. You would just say they're heavily inspired by Sabbath.
Yeah, there's definitely a time frame where they get a little Sabbathier.
There are, yeah. And with some songs, yes, you hear the Sabbath come through. But that's, good Lord, you could say that.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah.
You can say that about Typo Negative. There are plenty of Typo songs that are just, they give up on the goth thing for a little bit and they completely zoom in. The Beatles is gone, the goth is gone, and now all of a sudden they're just back to first 4 Sabbath albums. So yeah, I'm not going to hold that against Cathedral for loving Sabbath.
I'm still a little angry about that band. I don't know why. I have a handful of their albums. End Time I particularly like. End Time I think is a good one. It's really dark and heavy and really particularly doomy. I also like Soul Sacrifice. Soul Sacrifice is a good EP. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense to me a little bit with you because you had the history with Lee Dorian before Cathedral. You knew. I mean, your mind, Dorian was this kind
of
a certain
way.
This kind of project. And Cathedral couldn't be more different. So I completely understand where that would throw you for a loop and be hard to adjust. I didn't know Dorian as a Napalm Death guy before I first heard Cathedral. I heard Napalm first, but just a little bit. I probably didn't even at the time put it together that, this is the same guy from Napalm Death. Someone probably had to hold my hand and explain that later on. So yeah, I just, that doesn't faze me about Dorian switching, but I could see where it would be a stumbling block for folks like yourself. Yeah. And then that's fair. Yeah. It can be hard to get used to someone when they completely change directions that way.
And honestly, if I stumbled across that collection in the used bin for $5 a piece, I would have probably bought them all too and said, all right, I'm going back in. We're going to see where I end up here.
Yeah.
But
It's something that I've learned to do. I think sometimes as metal fans we tend to be a little too declarative in our likes and dislikes. I dislike this, so I shall dislike it forever. Let it be carved in stone that I dislike this album. Except if you haven't heard the album in 10 years, you may not have noticed it, but your musical tastes have probably changed. Might be worth a re-listen. I've learned that a lot in the past decade, that it's important to go back and give things another chance here and there. You can't do it for everything. You can't do it all the time, and not all of them are going to work out. But sometimes it definitely pays off to hear things with a fresh pair of ears. Like I said, listening to Orange Goblin now, I can really hear the cathedral in them. That's not something I ever really put together before. You listen to it. Examples come up all the time, but I'm rambling, so let's hand off that baton to Marty.
And having a YouTube platform with some sort of frequency behind it, eating crow is never fun, but we've both ate a fair share of it over the years.
Oh yeah.
I changed my mind, or I was wrong, or that's the thing.
I've been thinking of doing the albums. I completely changed my mind on over the years, and I have my faults. However, I try, and I'm pretty decent at not being overly egotistical. If I mess something up, I will own up to it. I'll admit it. If I change my mind, like, holy shit, that was a good album. I just didn't get it the first time around. I'm willing to admit that. Why
Voivod.
not?
I mean, recently, Voivod for you.
Yeah, the first 4 Voivod albums, I've gotten very entrenched with those. And that was a band that I spent decades unable to really ever connect with. But up through, the first 4, I'm feel very connected with now. What comes after the first 4, the connection, let's just say the signal gets dropped. But
right on.
It's my foot's in the door.
All right. Well, that was a side tangent. Sorry, everybody.
It happens.
Well, we can't go by without this band eating up a fair amount of time in my player.
Oh, somebody else in the chat said they just replayed that.
It was Daryl, actually.
That's
Celtic
right.
Frosty.
It was
it's funny he said that. I'm like, shit, sitting in my pile. Him and I share the same brain a lot of times. It's weird. But yeah, this is Rabbit Don't Come Easy by Halloween. This is Sasha's first album with the band. And guest drummer on this record is Mickey D, of course, from Motorhead.
I always forget that, but yeah, you're right.
Yep. So you have a very energetic, excellent drum performance on here. It's just funny throughout the reason why I grabbed this one out of all of them this week was I see people bitching about it, probably in our Discord server. Hey, what's up, Craig? Good to see you, man. I love this record. I think this record is outstanding. There is not a bad song on here. From Just a Little Sign to the tune, Open Your Life, Never Be a Star. What a great chorus. There you go. He's singing it in text for us. Darius is shining on these choruses. I don't know. I love this record. I hate the artwork. I hate their whole stupid computerized rabbit sense of humor motif thing that they got going on that is plastered all over every single panel. If anybody has an extra copy of this on vinyl, hit me up. I'm a little discouraged by the fact that even the reissues are going for $70-$80 online. God, fuck off.
What?
Really? And I don't want the redrawn cover one. I don't know. It's already a bad cover. Why redraw it and make it look worse? Anyway, having said that, I love this band. This band resonates at my frequency. I don't know what it is.
That pumpkin is your spirit vegetable.
It's my spirit. I am just infinitely enamored by the level of musicianship. Their keen ear for melody, guitar solos that go somewhere and are a vital part of the song, and great vocals. So yeah, they probably could have pulled a lot more Halloween for this, but this is the one I'll talk about today. Lee, you're back.
Why do you think Halloween went from like what I consider like serious band to this jokey cover, weird titled thing for a little while there?
The thing of it is the music is still serious. I mean, they may have little moments of sense of humor, but Craig, thank you so much. You did not have to do that, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Thanks a bunch, man. I don't really know how to answer your question. I just think that they stopped giving kind of a shit about their cover art. What do you think on this one, Alan? They have a sense of humor about them that's a little atypical, and I think they saw something like this and think it's funny, But the music itself has never suffered,
Yeah, they always had that sense of humor. They were always a little more carefree, lighthearted. They were never that worried about their true cult street cred or any of this kind of stuff. But that doesn't necessarily translate into, well, why did it carry over onto the titles and the cover art so blatantly for so long? I mean, it's one thing to have some fun songs here and there, like Dr. Stein and Rise and Fall. It's another thing to have just really, really bad cover art when you're a known quantity of a band. This isn't some demo level band who's getting their 15-year-old brother's girlfriend to put something together for them as an album cover. This is a big project, and so I don't have a good answer. It's a good question. Why did they sign off on such shit artwork for so many albums in a row?
Yeah, and considering the time frame too, I can tell you there was albums, I love the Keepers albums, and then when I got to Pink Bubbles Go Ape, I'm like, I'm just not buying that. You know what I mean? So I switched off without even listening to it, which I'm assuming a lot of people did, and you got to wonder, even at that point, they were on a major label, weren't they?
Yep, as an EMI, they were still tied in with all that.
So, I mean, how EMI just went, we're not doing this. But the band's like, well, we're going to follow it up with a, fucking Rabbit album. And we're going to follow it up with, someone kissing a fish. I just didn't understand why a band would almost commit hurry-curry to do that.
Yeah. The Pink Bubbles artwork, I mean, that is at least, a Hypnosis piece? It's one of the bigger, art studio. It may not be Hypnosis, but it was somebody of note put that together for them. So I could almost see that having been the other case where the label's like, hey, let's get this, big time hot shot, S tier artist to put the cover art together for you. Hey, what do you guys think of that? So we spend a lot of money on this. It's going on your fucking cover, whether you like it or not. But that wouldn't explain the rest, of the chain of events that happens with, all the bad CGI stuff, album after album after album. So maybe Pink Bubbles got foisted on them, but Gambling with the Devil and Rabbit Don't Come Easy, and the list just kind of goes on.
Straight Out of Hell.
Straight Out of Hell's a terrible one. Yeah.
Oh well, that's my Halloween thing.
Marty, when we finally interview them, that can be our first question.
Yeah.
So why does your album cover suck so much of the time? They've probably never been asked that.
Probably not.
It would be a short interview.
So recommendation time. I don't think I've never heard anyone talk about this. This was a band that very sadly got cut short. Quick story, there was a really horrible band back in the early 2000s called Society One. And Society One were only known for coming on the tail end of the nu metal craze. And their claim to fame was the singer was a little Nepo baby from a guy who had an adult film company. And he strung himself up with a bunch of hooks in front of 10,000 people. And that was how they got the name that they got. Fortunately, it didn't last very much longer after that because turns out they couldn't write a song. But the bass player in that band I always gravitated to. I thought he was an amazing looking bass player. He looked like the type of guy that I would buy an album from regardless of what it was. I would at least give it a chance. And his name was DV Karloff. And the funny story about DV was I met my wife through DV. And it was such a weird thing. We were in the same chat room. We started fighting about over some fan. Everyone starts blocking each other. And this person contacts me and they're like, they're saying this about you. And I'm like, you need to screenshot everything they say and send it to me because I'm not losing this internet fight. So it turns out many years down the track, that turns out to be my now wife. And we end up meeting up in LA for the very first time. And we go to the Rainbow and we're sitting in there, and we're having a great time. We got drinks, we got food, and I've had this tattoo. I've always loved this tattoo, and it was a tattoo that DV had on his hands, but he had it on both hands. And I always wanted to get it on the second one, but anyway, I figured I'm never going to meet this guy. It'll always be my tattoo. In walks DV Karloff, and he stops at our table and he looks at me and he goes, "Nice tattoo." And turns out my wife knew DV. They had been friends for a while, and she had set the whole thing up. So in a weird way, I feel that me liking a band that I think were absolute shit was somehow paramount to me meeting my wife and moving here, and I guess being on this show. So thank you, DV. But DV sadly died of a heart attack a few years ago, which was crazy. But he was a super nice guy. But before he died, he got out of that horrible band. And yeah, he was actually supposed to come to our wedding. It was a weird thing. But he put out Hate Song. And I don't know if anyone's ever heard this. This is like a black metal bastard child of like Motorhead and the Norwegian scene. And it's 4 songs. I think they did another one after this, but this is the one that I don't know if you can still get it or not. But this is like Motorhead black metal, not speed black metal, not black and thrash. This is like a really well done, powerful, bottom heavy Motorhead black metal album. And if you can somehow find this on Discogs or something, you will not be disappointed. If you're a fan of Motorhead and, Darkthrone, this is the type of stuff that, you stumble across every so often and you go, fuck me, man, if this band could have ever put out another, or a full length or just anything else, but that sadly didn't happen. He was also in another band called Three Headed Snake, which were like more of a power metal band, and they were doing festivals. But DV's super talented guy, a tattoo artist, like I said, responsible for me meeting my wife and then putting out this thing here. So I got the t-shirt as well. Just says Hate Song across it. And I did do a little homage to him by calling a EP that I put out Hate Crimes. I don't know. It only made sense to me. But, I had a lot of stuff about killing your spouse. So I guess there might have been some mixes up in there. But, I mean, very a convoluted way of getting to the point. But this guy was just an influence in the sense that he looked cool, was cool to people, and was just one of those silent musos that moved through bands, didn't make waves, but put out some really killer stuff when he was left to his own devices. So, DV, wherever you are, we still got your shit down here, man.
Right on. All right, Alan.
All right, back to the thrash metal side of things. I said there would be another South American band represented. That would be Sarcophago with Inri. Just hadn't gone back to this for a while, but it definitely fit with the early Sepultura vibe that I got into for a few weeks there. Again, I'm showing pretty obvious things that we don't need to dive deeply on. Another one of those albums that's just become really part of the mythology and the cult, not just in thrash, but its impact on the whole Norwegian scene as that was developing, and how much inspiration Euronymous and Dead and all those central figures were taken from this band on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. It has the same characteristics as early Sepultura. It's very raw. Yes. It's very primitive. Yes. They sometimes know what they're doing, and sometimes you're not sure they know what they're doing. Yes. Greg, who's in the chat, asked Hunter again over at Radical Research to kind of try to break down the time signature of one of these songs. And Hunter, who's a very accomplished musician, was just like, yeah, there's drumming. I'm not sure it really holds to any time signature known to mankind. It's a little all over the place. So yeah, they're not following anything that resembles standard convention. But that's also kind of the point, and why people really gravitate towards it. It's just fun to revisit it. It was exactly the kind of insane, sloppy, but really fun, thrash / early death metal that I was in the mood for a month or so ago. And so I've played a lot. This got several spins before going back on the shelf. Sarcophago. I didn't get around to replaying Rotting. I've got that one also, but I kind of ended up eventually burning myself out on the Stoner Thrash playlist. I've got one more Stoner entry, and then I'll talk about some other stuff for the night. But yeah, I didn't get back to Rotting, but Inri did make it into the playlist for a while.
All right. Well, I showed this, I think, on Wednesday, but it's worth showing again before I file it away. But I finally, for some reason, my CD copy of Samson's Head On came up missing. I don't know where the hell that ended up. Or I just had a CDR of it. I don't remember. It's fuzzy, but hey, my friends over at Whatnot had my back. I got this for $16 and brand new, still sealed. And this is, I don't know if I've heard the other Samson album with Bruce Dickinson on vocals, but for those of you who don't know,
Survivors?
this is
Or is it
Soul Survivor, something Survivor.
Soul Survivor or Street Survivor? Yeah.
Something
I can
like
see the
that.
cover, but
yeah, it's got like columns, like Greek columns on it or something. Yeah.
If Aaron
This is a really good
record.
record. And if you didn't know, Bruce Dickinson was in this band before Iron Maiden. And that is their drummer, Thunderstick, on the cover. And this album, you think, oh, Bruce Dickinson's probably the shining moment on here. Nope. It's the drum fills up from old Thunderstick here. It sounds almost like they're overdubbed. Craig backed me up on this. Doesn't it sound like those massive, crazy drum rolls he did separately and threw everything he had into it? It almost sounded like he was falling apart playing them, but they rule. Great drum rolls. Some pretty crazy lyrics on here. Pretty homoerotic lyrics stuff on here, but you know, hey, whatever gets you down the road, right? And of course we have the one song co-written with Steve Harris here, which would be Thunderburst. I cannot remember. Da, 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 da. That Maiden song. It's off one of the first couple albums. It's off the first album, I think. Great song. It's just weird hearing it in a different non-Iron Maiden context. I don't know. This is a great album, and I got a hell of a deal on it, sealed with this goofy Obi thing on it. But yeah, Thunderstick, man.
Yeah,
There he is.
He actually took a lot of heat for the mask gimmick back in the day because it was very similar to a mask that was worn by some psycho who, I don't think he was a mass murderer or serial killer, but I think he was like creeping on women in certain neighborhoods in England around that time. And the Thunderstick mask, he always swore that it was just kind of coincidence that's the mask I had laying around, and it just happens to look like that dude's mask. But the band did face some blowback because it's like, why is your drummer trying to look like, you know, this asshole who's out here attacking women? He's like, not really what I was going for. Sorry.
Abort.
Yep. Yeah. There's also, you know, Samson was one of those bands that felt like they were on the cusp of some bigger success, but of course Bruce left the fold. There's also some famous story where, like, at one of the bigger showcase gigs that Samson was invited to, Thunderstick sort of threw a bit of a shit fit over something, and that kind of turned some of the record label scouts who were there off on the project. They're like, yeah, that guy seems to have issues. Maybe we should look at one of these other bands. Who's next? Maiden something. Maybe we'll sign them instead.
Yeah. So, Craig, did he completely just ignore the? I know that you had kind of a bad interview with him. You and him didn't gel, but did he? He just ignored your question, or he just didn't? He left it ambiguous on the lyrics because it is, and I don't care, but I just thought it's kind of an interesting take.
It's not something
Anyway.
you see or hear done in a lot of heavy metal music. That they kind of. It's not even like double entendre. It's more like single entendre for some of those lyrics.
Yeah. All right, Lee.
All right. This is an interesting band because this is probably one of the more vicious, crazy black metal adjacent bands that I've come across. And I didn't know anything about them, only that someone said the singer was a bit of a nut job, but the songs are just absolutely insane. And it's a band called Cross Spitter. And I was only just educated on this band. Was the singer, I believe, was one of the guys in Thornspawn, but is one of the ladies in Crossspitter now. And there was a big mix-up. There was a big type of, as you can imagine, with black metal people, fight, I guess, that broke out, and she went over to go into this band. Now, I had no idea that this was a thing. Didn't even know there was, now a girl in the band. So I'm like, had no idea. So I listened to this with, I guess, unprejudiced ears, and dude, it is like one of the more out of the box, just unhinged black metal albums that you are going to hear. And if you didn't listen to my little story at the start, then you pick this up, and Absu, sorry, not Thornspot. And this is unreal. I haven't heard anything that comes close to this recently at all, or before. So Crossspitter, I don't know where they're from. I'm guessing maybe a Texas thing, if Absu's kind of from that way, but super cool. Absu. Yeah, Thank you, Spirit World. Everyone's coming down on me. But, great band. If you can still get this or not, I'm sure it's on YouTube. You can check it out, but super fucking awesome.
All right, Alan.
All right, let's bring the stoner thrash segment of the evening to a close with one more stoner doomish component. Internal Void, with their debut album Standing on the Sun. This one is a little more of a throwback. Came out in 93, so pretty early on when this style was starting to gain some popularity with Caius and Cathedral and other bands. Originally came out on Hellhound, which was known for signing several bands in this style, but they didn't tend to get a lot of visibility. Now, this one did get a licensing deal with Nuclear Blast, so this album popped up. I found this used in a record store probably around 93 and just bought it. It was a blind buy because it said Nuclear Blast on the back and obviously looked like it'd be kind of heavy. It's a fairly good album. The band is from Frederick, Maryland, and they are definitely part of that whole Maryland doom scene, which revolves heavily around the sound of Pentagram and, to a greater or lesser extent, also the Obsessed. There are a lot of bands that cropped up in that whole Northern Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania nexus that stuck to that sound. Internal Void's a perfect example of this. So yes, if you are familiar with the Obsessed, Pentagram, you're going to have a decent idea of what is going on here. It's got that fuzzy, heavy sound to it, but it's also sticking to, like a 4/4 time signature, basic song structure kind of doom metal. They're not going for super long songs most of the time. There's, yes, once again, a big Sabbath influence to those acts, of course. And Internal Void do it fairly well. I'm not going to claim they're the best at it, but they're certainly not the worst. The highlight on here is the opening track. Warhorse is a really cool song. It's got a really cool sort of little breakdown section around the chorus that just works really well. The other material certainly isn't bad. There seems to be a little bit of a Christian theme to them. I've never known them as a Christian band, but there's a quote top center on the back panel that is, Bible quote. Some lyrics here and there definitely seem to hint at a Christian spirituality to the band, but they're not just doing kumbaya, Jesus loves me, yes I know type of music either. If you really dig the Maryland flavor of doom metal, and if you've never checked out Internal Void, they're worth giving a chance. They've only released 3 albums, and they were spaced out a bit. This one came out in 93. This follow-up wasn't until around 2000, so pretty big gap. And then there's another one from maybe like the mid-2000s. They may have some other splits or EPs or things, but those are the only 3 albums I know the band ever put out. Decent stuff if you like that style. If the whole Maryland doom tract isn't your thing, then this is not going to do anything to win you over either. Internal Void, and that'll be my last stoner thrash entry.
All right. Well, the kid is surprising me daily. He has just kind of hit the ground running. I will say one good thing about the streaming services, especially for a young dude. He's 16. Once you start plugging into things into your listening habits, the algorithm starts, oh, maybe you'll like this. Well, one day on the drive the other day, doing some errands, he put on this album, King Diamond's Abigail. And I'm just like, kick ass. And he says he's been listening to Don't Break the Oath. He had kind of like a brick wall he couldn't get past with King's vocals. And finally that went away. And now he's all about King Diamond. So it was kind of the same with me when I first heard Merciful Fate for the first time. It was just so absurd hearing vocal style like that. But it was a quick turnaround for me. And it was for him too. So yeah, Merciful Fate is on his list. And we spun this record. It has been a hot minute since I've spun this. But man, the music on this album is so perfectly composed. The songs are so interesting from just a musical standpoint. Take King out of the equation 100%, and the record stands on its own. The music, the solos, there is not a bad note. The way the lead guitars interact with each other. I mean, it was just kind of the same way with Merciful Fate. Denner and Sherman completed each other's sentences in a musical standpoint. And here you've got, Michael Denner, one of the alumni from Merciful Fate, moving on to interact with Andy LaRocque, which is a perfect guitar player. He's like a perfect note guitar guy. Mm-hmm. And, throw King's, at this time in his career, his voice was just at the top peak performance. Those high-end falsettos were just searing and perfect and so creepy. And the story is compelling. It's interesting. Great album. And then he asked the other day, have you heard The Eye? Is that a good album? I was like, have I heard The Eye? Come on, man. It turned up on Whatnot for $8. I bought it for him, but I pulled out my record anyway and spun it. This is one of, I wouldn't say this is the last one I love. It's not true because I do like The Graveyard. I do like some other King stuff as well. I've liked them all. Some I like more than others. I do not like House of God or Give Me Your Soul Please. So there's some low moments, but this record, this is a reissue. This record is a special record. Granted, it's a drum machine throughout. I think Snowy Shaw was credited. Yeah, he's credited as drums, but it's a machine. It sounds good. But again, creepy as hell. Good story. You're in a convent. Priest is doing bad things to the nuns, type of situation. But it's a good. The vibe fits. That horror phonically charged vibe fits the storyline perfectly. And again, it's a great record. You do have Pete Black entering the equation on guitar, and he does a good job. And I think if you're propped up alongside Andy LaRocque, that is a guy that's going to help you shine and help your guitar playing abilities advance.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just love this era of King Diamond for sure. Obviously it started with Merciful Fate, but King, because for a long run of doing no wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah. Marty, would you say that The Eye is the last essential King Diamond album? Not the last good one, but the last essential one.
No, I wouldn't. Wade, I'm with you. Spider's Lullaby is a really good album as well. There's still some essential King Diamond stuff. Things get a little shady in the when King Diamond and Merciful Fate were running tandem to each other. I think both bands suffered from this. I think some of the ideas sounded a little bit phoned in on both albums. Like albums like Dead Again, I think are pretty.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
Pretty boring, and House of God and Voodoo. Not a big Voodoo fan. I can listen to it, but I don't love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. I'm not sure there's like a King Diamond album after The Eye I feel is essential. I agree. Like Spider's Lullaby is good. Graveyard's not bad, but are they essential? Could you get by without hearing them? Probably.
I could, but I wouldn't want to. I listened to Spider's Lullaby recently-ish, and I forgot how great that record is. It really is a good record.
Yeah. People were so nervous when that came out too, because there had been a pretty big break. I remember I had some friends that were very big King Diamond fans, and they were like literally worried. It's like, is it going to be good? Is it going to suck like so many other bands have started to suck as the 90s progressed? And they were pretty happy with it.
I agree with you, Craig. The twin lead line at the end of Black Horseman, absolute perfection. What a nice exclamation point on a perfect record. All right, Lee, you're up.
Got a funny story about King. My brother. You know how people get like PTSD or like damaged into their adulthood because their parents will do something shitty. Well, that was my brother, right? And he had one of those gag little laughing boxes, and he would throw me into the room and turn the lights off and throw the laughing box in, and I could never find it. And it used to scare the shit out of me. And then King Diamond comes out with, I believe it was The Dark Side, one of the albums, and at the very last track, he laughed at it, right? I think it was The Dark Side. And to this day, it was, because it was the Christmas song, right? Mm-hmm. They had a Christmas song.
Mm-hmm. No present for Christmas.
No present, yeah. So he does this laugh at the end of it. Every time I heard that song, I'd have to turn it off before the laugh, because it's just, it just scarred me so much. And I pulled this. I don't know why I pulled it, but I just figured, I knew Marty was going to tell a King Diamond story.
That's awesome. Okay,
now we're going to fight. All right. So normally this is Alan's job to make everyone upset. I'm going to do it tonight. This is one of my favorite Creator albums, and I can't tell you why, but I can tell you why it sounds like this. I've got a theory. So this came out during my high school, and I think that the whole voice changed and a little bit of the industrial thing came in because Sepultura had just put out a Rise, I believe, and that had some, industrial type of sounds within the songs, some of the songs. And the vocal was a deeper thing. And I think, old Millie might have gone and looked at that and gone, well, maybe I could darken the voice a little bit and sing deeper. And that's what he did. But I love the songs, man. Renewal, the fucking first song is absolutely killer. And I don't know why this, this one and Extreme Aggression and Coma of Souls, perfect trilogy of albums. But this one always hit me as just so good. Yep, Boot Lee. This is exactly what I wanted, Freddie. This is what I want. I want dissension in the ranks, and this is like just a cool album. And I don't care. I don't care if you don't like it. You can be a purist and you can like all the first stuff, but this just hit me at the right time, and I will buy that. Melly couldn't sing high anymore because I like this album, and he found his voice again when he was older because he could do it. Like, I don't care that he lied, and I don't care that he tried to fit a trend. I like this fucking album.
You want to hear my opinion on this record? It is.
I just don't care anymore. No, yes, I do.
It's changed.
Because
it's changed.
Okay,
a lot.
Let's go.
It was, when that album came out, it was a feeling of absolute betrayal. You go from Betrayer to that, and hardcore vocal shouting on a Creator record. I was pissed off, and I just couldn't get my head around it. And and it's funny, you're not alone. Like, Jurgen loves that record. A lot of people I've talked to over the years love that record. And finally, I had it on tape, got rid of it. I hated it. I was pissed off at Creator. And they had a stretch of tough sells in their catalog. They had a hard time finding themselves. But I ended up getting a CD here the last 5 years. And it connected. I'm like, what was I thinking? This is pretty good. It's different. But after such a long stretch of being kind of the same thing, why not try something a little bit different? And it fit still within the Creator aesthetic, I thought. But so yeah, this is one of those eat crow moments where I finally swung my perception around, and is that the one I'm going to reach for every minute? No, but I own it and I do like it.
I thought it was a little rawer. Like, it was a rawer production, and I think maybe that was just a sign of the times. But Sepultura definitely had a hand in shaping this particular album. But it was raw. It was just stripped back, and it had a pulse to it, which Creator just was full, blast pretty much all the way. I think I got a bit of fatigue with it, but. Those last three albums I thought had melody, and then when this one came up, I thought, perfect. It just came at the right time. So that's my hot take.
What were you thinking on that one, Alan? Did you have an opinion on it?
For Renewal, it's not. I've only heard it a few times, so I don't have a strong opinion on it either way. I remember it being okay, maybe a step down from the albums before it, but not down to the level of Endorama type stuff. Sorry, Darcy, but. Yeah, Endorama, I can't get on board. And what's the one? There's at least one in between with
Outcast.
Yeah. I forget
Outcast
that
is
album
total
even
shit.
exists, and then I
That's
remember,
bad.
and then I'm sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, Lee, but not going to fight you over that one. It's
No.
yeah, it's all right.
There was a time I would have thrown down, but no, I had the Kool-Aid. I drank the Kool-Aid eventually. It took me many years to get there, though. All right, Alan.
All right, let's see. This is one that Simon talked up a while back, and I pay attention when Simon recommends things. And Marty, I think you also ended up liking this one. So then I was like, okay, they both like it. That's one of the nice things about listening to these kind of shows. You know, folks will sometimes ask, why do you really need album reviews in this day and age? You can just listen to anything you want to online. That's very true. But you can't listen to everything. There's way too much out there. So it is nice when you find people whose tastes are similar enough to yours that you can learn to trust their recommendations. If Simon sends me a link to something, he knows my tastes well enough to know that I'm probably going to like it. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to agree with him. Same with Marty. And so this actually showed up in the local store. I was surprised they had copies of it, but they did. It was like, okay, well, Simon likes it. Marty likes it. Let's plop down our $13.99 in tax and give a Sepulchral Curse, Crimson Moon Evocations
Good
a
record.
chance. It's a really good record. You and Simon are absolutely right with this one. It's the band's 3rd album. It's a Finnish band. If folks haven't heard of them, they're one of those bands that are kind of, mixing black metal and death metal elements, and also a very doomy atmosphere at times, with some slower pacing. Great riffs throughout the album. Really great, impressive lead guitar work, and it's pretty clean guitar leads also. So they really do stand out nicely against the backdrop of the music. Simon, has compared this to the band Jade, which I think is very apt. It's a band that I've enjoyed all of their material over their. They've done 2 albums plus a couple of other things, and it's all sounded really good. Sepulchral Curse seems to be in that same vein. Now, this is their 3rd album. It's the only one I am familiar with. So, Marty, if you've heard other stuff,
It's the only one I've heard.
Okay, so you're in the same boat I am then.
Yep.
My one gripe with this album is, the cover art's pretty cool, but you turn it around, there is print here. There is. They printed the goddamn CDs so dark, though, you can barely see it. It's like crimson red print on a black background. Same with like the spine. It might as well be plain black. I don't know how often I'm going to play this, because I don't think I'm ever going to
be able to find it ever again.
Yeah, it's on the shelf. I'm just going to be going by, and it's just my eyes aren't going to connect because there's not a damn thing to see. This is piss poor packaging. Cool cover art. I'll get it out of the case so it should, but it's not it's not just a matter of the case being the problem here. The cover art's cool, but even like the band logo is extremely hard to see on the cover unless you get it at just the right angle. It really just printed too darkly. Even the damn CD is just completely dark almost. So we're getting into Spinal Tap levels of how black is this one. I think there's art on the panel behind the case. I'm not really sure. There's
part of that probably was the pressing plant. They gang run those.
Yeah.
They don't calibrate the machines to high contrast. They run everything the same, and sometimes shit comes back dark. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, this batch came out too dark, but It is a really cool album. Glad y'all recommended it. I'm really happy the local store got a few copies of it in. If folks like Jade, if they just like, that Finnish doomy black and death metal mixture that has been, popular. There are other bands doing it in recent years too. Sepulchral Curse seems to do it extremely well. And Simon, I want to see if you've posted, excuse me, losing my voice a little bit. Interested to see if Simon can tell us anything about the other albums in the live chat over there.
All right. Well, since Lee cracked the seal, let's talk about a real Creator album, Extreme Aggression. This is the one that Alan picked up for me for a birthday a year or so ago. And I've got a lot of mileages showing, and very proud of this original pressing. Thank you again, Alan. One of my favorite albums of all time, and I just bought it for my kid, not the vinyl, but the CD. Came up on Whatnot, and $8 original pressing. I'm like, it's probably a bootleg. I don't care. He don't care. I'm just happy that I got to buy this album for my son, and he's psyched about it. So, and people keep holding me to this thing that I hate Coma Souls. I don't hate Coma Souls. It's an album that had a tough job to do, and it was follow up this album. There's some great songs on Coma Souls. I just think the band sounds like they've been touring a lot. They sound tired. There's some great songs on it. I like most of the album. I can sing along with most of the album. I certainly don't hate it, but it is not Extreme Aggression. This is...
it's better than Extreme Aggression.
No. It's not. It's not. Maybe I would consider a lateral. It's a lateral. They run parallel.
Okay. We'll play nice, and I'll give you that.
I do think this sounds more aggressive. You know, the production is a little sharper. It's got a little bit more teeth. I think Coma Souls has a bit more of a budget, and they produced some of the snarl out of the creator spirit a bit. But it's a minor complaint. This record is great, perfect from start to finish, other than the album cover. But after all these years, I couldn't imagine this cover any other way. And honestly, the original artwork for it, I didn't like that artwork. I thought it was stupid. That the guy ripping his face apart in the mirror, it's not good. It's not a good illustration. So there you go. Right on, Craig. All right, Lee.
All right, so this guy I've known for a ton of time, right? So when I was a train driver back in Sydney, Australia, all right, there was this interesting dude on the internet who I thought was literally certifiably crazy. Turns out, much later when I got to know him in real life, that he actually is certifiably crazy. Now, there was a band back in Texas their claim is, and look, they've probably got a pretty good claim to the title of being the first black metal band that the US ever had, right? And that was a band called Ceremony. He believes that he will go head to head with Paul Ledney and say that he is wrong 100% of the time, that, you know, everything that he says is a lie because he believes that he is correct. And look, I mean, I got no reason to doubt him. He's got the record. It's on Nuclear War Now. Yusuke thinks it's what it is, and I'm not going to dispute it, but he puts out a ton of shit, and most of it is quality, really good. And this is another one that he put out many moons ago called Black Spells. Huh. Everything he does is just, it's vicious. And one is an interesting character. He does have a YouTube channel, and if you have not seen it, I think he's been booted off YouTube a dozen times, and he might only just run it on Facebook. He maybe gets 4 people that watch it, but he doesn't care. He talks shit about bands. He tells great stories about blasphemy and why they're never allowed into the States again. He has some first-hand accounts of things which men should not have, okay? But he also will disappear from the stream and go and get chicken wings and forget that he's running a stream and then come back and pick it up where he left off. He's an absolute nut job. He rides around his town on a bike with a gas mask on, like absolutely crazy. He's the perfect guy that should be singing in your band. And he does Black Spells. He does this other one which is called Obsidian Hooves, which is like an autopsy death metal band, one of the coolest death metal bands I've heard in a while. Just different stuff. And now he does have a CD out on the Fomorian label, which is Contreras, because I can't speak Spanish, but someone can help me out. Someone will I'll say, write it in the chat, and then someone else will say it. But it's Spanish. I can't speak Spanish, but war metal. So he covers the gamut from black to death to thrash to this, and now he's doing the Texasists. So he's doing something else now with Cuernos del Chivos. There we go. And he's doing something else now, which is more of a I don't know, like a rock thing. And he tried to do a hip hop cross album. The guy does not care, but he's just an interesting character. Like, you think Varg's interesting, you think Fenrez is interesting. This guy's got the same type of rap, just you've never really heard of him. But yeah, he really cool band. I think if you go to his Facebook, it's Oath to the Goat. And it doesn't really care who he offends, but you'll see every single thing that he's ever done, and you can check it out, and it's quality stuff. Very, very cool stuff. But this is Black Spells. This is one of the better ones.
Right on. Alan.
All right. Let's talk about something that's neither stoner nor thrash. This came out, or kind of came to light, sometime, I guess, last year, and made a lot of waves among fans. But it was only pressed up as a bootleg. They got really expensive. But it's now gotten more pressings and is more affordable. So I finally got a copy of the Manny tapes from the Misfits. These are some of the earliest known recordings the band ever did that had never come to light. They were recorded by the band's original drummer, Manny, who is in the middle there. And yes, there may have been someone who drummed on like a couple of practice sessions before Manny joined, but yeah, this was the first time that the band was really doing anything. He recorded these himself, but he didn't last in the band more than about a year. And they basically just sat in his shoebox somewhere, in his closet the rest of his life. He passed away in 2023. And I guess that in going through his estate, friends or family members found these and fortunately realized what the heck they were, that this was Misfits material from the first year of the band's history that had never really gotten circulated. There were a couple of people, some really hardcore fans who knew Manny personally, who had gotten copies of at least some of this material over the years, but they had kept it very quiet. They did not run to YouTube and plaster it all over the internet for the world to hear. So it really wasn't until, sometime last year that somebody got these pressed up first on vinyl. And as you can imagine, the vinyl copies immediately sold out and were going for stupid money on eBay and platforms if you could get it past the bootleg filters on those sites. But yeah, there are CD copies popping up now, and I'm quite happy to pay $20 for a CD of this and not a couple of $100 for the vinyl copy of it.
Right?
Yeah, it's pretty nutty. What you've got here are 3 different recording sessions. They're all from 77, and they're spread out over about a 6 to 8 month period. The first, and let me go ahead and get this out of the way. The sound quality on all of these is actually quite good, considering this was just being recorded, with a very, simple tape deck in 77. This is not like super lo-fi, hissy, can barely hear a fucking thing. They actually sound quite good. So if that's a concern, don't let that bother you. The first handful of tracks is a rehearsal early with the band, and this is Manny, Glenn, and Jerry. They're the only 3 members. None of them play guitar. This is the phase where the guitar was basically emulated with Glenn playing the electric piano, often using like a fuzz pedal or a distortion. So yeah, kind of a strong Doors comparison in a way. The second tape, which is the middle track list there, is possibly the band's first gig. I think there's a little disagreement about where this one's recorded. I've seen it cited mostly as a gig at CBGB's. Some people have mentioned that it may actually be a gig from a different place called Eddie's Lounge. That one comes kind of in the middle of 77, so a few months after the rehearsal. And then the third track list over here is a show they did later in the year, definitely at this place called Freddy's or Eddie's Lounge. And again, from maybe like October. The exact dates are posted. Some folks have put some really solid liner notes on Reddit if you're really into this stuff, where you can read several pages about it. Not only is this a chance to hear the earliest version of the band, which Prior to this, the only thing that existed from this lineup of the band was the very first 7-inch. She on one side, Cough Cool on the other side. If you really like those two tracks and always feel like, gee, I wish I could hear more, this is absolutely what you want to get. Not only does it give you a lot more songs played in that style with no guitarist in the band, there's also 10 tracks on here that have never popped up on any other Misfits bootleg or live recording or anything. You get 10 quote-unquote new Danzig era Misfits songs. Now, yes, a few of these did get reworked into different songs later on, so some of them will sound familiar. For example, there's a track called Feline Nursery. Feline like cat, nursery like nursery. That got reworked into Spinal Remains. You can definitely hear that. But this version is different. It has a completely different set of lyrics. So there's lots of neat things like that here. There's a couple of tracks where you can really hear the Velvet Underground influence on Glenn, which is something that doesn't get cited for Misfits very often. But a couple of these tracks, it's like, yep, he's definitely channeling his love for all things Nico. You hear definitely on some of these unreleased tracks a lot of his love for that 50s pop kind of music. You often hear him compared to Elvis Presley and Jim Morrison. That comes through on a lot of these tracks. The Doors and the Jim Morrison comparison is very evident. Now, there are some duplicate tracks across all three, of course. I think Hollywood Babylon is on here 4 separate times, twice in the rehearsal and once from each live set. So you're going to have some repeats. But it's also interesting to hear how those songs were evolving during the first year of the band's existence. Going from, the early first rehearsal where there's still a little bit of chatter between tracks about what they're trying to do, to the performance at the Lounge late in 77, where it's coming across tighter and tighter. I have absolutely loved playing this over the past month. I was waiting for someone to just go ahead and mass produce the CDs and sell them cheap. And as soon as it happened, I bought one. I couldn't be happier listening to this shit. Misfits are one of my favorite bands of all time. Seriously, a top 5 band of all time. And that's not hyperbole. I've done the math. It's a top 5 band. And I really do like these early incarnations of the band. Like this lineup, the following sort of Mark II version of the band with Mr. Jim and Frankie Coma. Almost all Misfits up to a certain point is great, but the early stuff I am very drawn to. So this is perfect for me. If you really dig early Misfits and you haven't had a chance to check these out yet, go on eBay. You can find the CD for about $20 in shipping. Yes, it's just a CDR. No, there's no liner notes in it. Just type Manny Tapes Misfits Reddit into your search engine. A couple of folks have put really, really nice, extensive details on every single track out there. The information's there and the music is great. The sound quality, again, is fantastic considering the source material. A lot of times these types of bootlegs don't get played much because they just sound too rough. I've played this for a month. I'll play it again this weekend probably. It sounds great and it's a really interesting archive. I've talked about it probably far too long, but damn it, it deserves to be highlighted. There you go. Early Misfits, the Manny Tapes. Check them out if you like that era.
All right. Well, these are 2 Whatnot purchases, and they should get me a shirt or a hat or something that says Whatnot on it. Moon Sorrow, I'm slowly filling in my Moon Sorrow collection. It's pretty lame, to be honest. This is Vimosata ya Kunisata. Probably not even close. And I also have this I picked up on eBay. I'm not even going to try the... Oh, wait. That's not as bad. Tulimiskir... yeah, it's bad. It's an EP. The EP's got a... For Whom the Bell Tolls Metallica cover, the second track on here. But the rest of it goes back into this Viking metal type of black metal vibe. They do it really well. This is a full length, and this came out in, they're not going to put the date on here, so I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I know shit because I don't know. I'm fairly green around this band. I had a few albums leading up to these purchases, but saw them once. They played America once. I was at the Heathen Crusade Festival in St. Paul, Minnesota, and saw them. They were great. Great band. They weren't drunk and falling off stage at this point. They came to slay, and they did. Very good record. Again, Viking-ish metal, black metal style. Doesn't really sound very Finnish to me. Maybe that's not familiar enough with this album yet to say that, but it doesn't. Finnish black metal has a vibe, and this doesn't really have it. It's more polished, a little bit more next step up in quality, I guess you could call it that. But yeah, I like it. I like this band, and when these deals present themselves, I am definitely going to be snatching up more. Lee.
All right, so I might have to cover the cover. Does that make sense? Because I really don't know what I'm looking at, so and I don't want to get you into trouble. But gore grind. Now we've discussed how it's not a great genre. Not everyone likes it. I definitely like some, but I mean, I'm very picky when it comes to it. I think it needs to have songs. I heard this as one of those popped up on I think it might have been a YouTube playlist, and in the background, and it caught my attention because it's a one-man project, and this is what you can achieve if you have a very, very competent guitar player. And his vocals, the only way I can describe the vocals is the bloodbath vocals. It's very smooth death metal vocal. You know what I mean? It's not offensive. It's not raspy. It's just this gorgeous, encapsulating, warm death metal vocal, right? So this is Lymphoma. I believe they're from New York, but this guitar player, and I'm covering up because I don't know if we're looking at a poor gentleman's face or his testicles. So I don't know what I'm covering, but that's why I'm covering it, because I really
it's that high up, it's probably the face. But
maybe, but there's arms, but there's legs. So I don't know if his head's behind the sheet or if that's his head. But this is an album that I think, Alan, you would even appreciate, because it's not grindcore. I mean, it's classed as grindcore, it's classed as gore grind, but it's like it's very carcassy, but very well played carcassy. Yeah, we go. Another Australian. We love this shit. So mellow grind, beautiful. So it's got a ton of really cool riffs in it. Like, you guys like riffs? This has the riffs and some really memorable riffs. And I couldn't tell you apart from, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but Heartwork, maybe not gore grind, but it's carcass. So let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. That had memorable riffs in it. This has memorable riffs in it. And I think if you are just kind of one of those, I don't like grindcore, gore grind at all, this is the one that will put you kind of in a realm of something. So Lymphoma, I think it was Grand Vomit Productions, pretty name for a record label. I'm pretty sure he put this out on vinyl not that long ago, so you can pick this one up. But yeah, very, very well played. The production is gorgeous for a underground one-man guy. You know, the only real downside is, and I hate drum machines, I really do. And now I'm upset that you said the King Diamond was a drum machine. That's completely changed my whole perspective.
Some people in the chat were saying it was him playing electric kit, but I heard it was a machine.
Okay.
I don't know. It could be either way.
I can still sit with that it potentially might be human.
It might be.
This is definitely not human, but it doesn't sound like a machine either. So, you know, whichever way you want to fall on that one. But Lymphoma is very, very, very good. And I'm not a guy who really likes gore grind unless it's got the word carcass attached to it. Mm-hmm. And you can see a pair of testicles or a face if you buy this one.
I will say, Lee,
Rorschach test right there.
Yeah.
If that is Snowy Shaw playing electric kit, he's phoning it in. He's a much better drummer than that If you listen to it, it's just kick snare. There's not, the fills are not embellished. It is a drum machine. I'll Evan agrees. I heard it somewhere. Don't know. Sorry.
They say it's soaking.
All right, Alan.
All right, let's see. I think it was Brian mentioned he'd been listening to a lot of this band lately, and I have also. That band is Immolation, and the one I picked was Close to a World Below. Been working through albums from different parts of their catalog. I'm still missing some stuff in the middle of their catalog. I don't have everything, which is okay. This is the kind of thing I can fill those gaps in slowly over time. But yeah, I picked this one up recently because I just didn't have a hard copy of it before. Yeah, this is still very much kind of a prime era Immolation. Immolation has never gotten really bad. I think there are some albums later in their catalog where people feel like they get a little samey. There's maybe just like not as much, not as many standouts perhaps. But this is still in the era where they were on absolutely the top of their game early on. And it's from that period too where death metal went through weird phases. We don't need to do the whole history of death metal thing again, but late 90s, earliest 2000s, a lot of bands weren't carrying the torch so much. But Immolation was churning out some really monster albums. This one included. This album's got just a very dense sound, very dark, which isn't unusual for Immolation, but there is something that's different about this one. It's got like just the brutality of Failures for Gods on it, but everything feels more claustrophobic on this album. Jack Half a Prayer, who's sometimes in the live chat, I remember him writing a short blurb about this, probably over like on his Rate My Music page, where he almost describes it as it almost feels like an industrial album at times, just in terms of everything being very locked in place, and very dense sounding and just oppressively heavy. All those things are very, very true on this. The guitar production's a little different on the album, not in any kind of weird way, but the guitars are not like way up front or buried. Different parts of the kit are louder. It's like the toms seem more up front compared to maybe the kicks on the album also. So it sounds really good. There's nothing, I don't play this and feel like, whoa, what are they doing here? It just feels like they kind of balanced things a little differently than they might have on other albums. And it does give Close to a World Below a little different feel than the albums before or after it, the ones that I know. And again, there are some blank spots in my Immolation knowledge. Good track list. I really like the closing title track. It's the longer, more epic track on here, but it's put together superbly, just as everything. Last thing I'll throw out there for Immolation, this one, as usual, is lots of their sort of, anti-religious lyrics. I always thought Immolation did that approach better than some other bands that also took the same tact. For a lot of death metal bands, it could become a little cartoonish and just being like over the top, trying to, caricature all the, gore and anti-religion and this stuff. When you stop and go through the Immolation lyrics, they really don't do a ton of that. A lot of the focus on it is just more straightforward. Like, I don't believe in your bullshit and you can't prove me wrong. It's a lot more blunt and matter of fact and just like, forget all the blasphemy, forget all the unholy blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I look at you, I think is it this album? Again, I've been playing a bunch of Immolations, but there's one so I feel nothing. I look at your cross and I feel nothing. How much colder and more blunt could you get to somebody, if you're just expressing that opinion to people of faith? You can always be like, Satan is real and throw up the horns, and it's a certain like, sure, whatever, you're just believing the other side of their mythos. But when you're like, I see the most important symbol in your entire belief system, and it does nothing for me. That was Immolation's take on how to tackle organized religion. And I always felt like, yeah, that to me makes them more brutal than a lot of the bands that went for the over the top, cartoonish, satanic kind of approach to it. Immolation, they don't miss many steps. I get why some people kind of lose interest in them during a certain phases of their career, but they never really made just a bad album. Maybe they made some generic albums at worst. Close to a World Below is my pick for this round.
All right. Someone mentioned them in the chat earlier. I return to this album frequently. Terra by Absu. This is a special record. I really like Son of Tippereth as well. Great record. But this thing here is just Absu at peak technical proficiency. Still writing good songs, good memorable songs. Of course, Prescriptor's drumming is, wow, absolutely turbocharged. Excellent drumming, super tight double bass work. Blasting's perfect. And he did all this shit while screaming. So talk about left brain, right brain, using all the hemispheres of your brain to move all your appendages and scream. Pretty impressive. Nowadays, he's just kind of out in front doing his thing, looking goofy. But this thing here is an absolute classic. Can't beat the original three, man. They're special time, Texas black metal band that had their own style in the American scene. America always really struggled to get earn respect from the world, from the rest of the world, I think. And, probably for a lot of good reasons. Because, a lot of bands just kind of tried to be a lesser version of what was happening overseas. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I still enjoyed that shit greatly. But, and sometimes the U.S. black metal scene was a little bit more brutal as well, which, mentioned another Texas band, Thornspawn, very brutal band. There's other bands that come up that are maybe a little bit of a death metal flavor to it, but Absu, they had the vibe of black metal, but they were just so much more advanced in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I think they earned the respect the world over too. They were on a French label. They're on Osmos. Is this on Osmos? It probably was.
Should be. Yep.
Yeah. And, they worked well. They just never seemed to, they broke up at one point and whatever. They've had their ups and downs for sure, but I love that record. Special record, super memorable. If you've never checked it out, if you wanted to check out Absu, I would say that's the one to plant your flag for sure. Lee.
It's definitely the one folks, cite the most.
Yeah.
So back in the early 90s in Australia, we had a big Deicide. We got the Deicide albums, right? And we had a bunch of bands that came out of, I think they were from Canberra. I know this one was, but a band called Psychrist. So, Simon, you got to remember Psychrist, right? And these guys were kind of like hot on the heels of the Deicide stomp, right? So they were very, very quick, technical. Everything was Satan, Satan, Satan. And what always made me laugh about this was like, when you're young and you look at people and you go, yeah, you should be in a band. This guy looks like he should be in that band. And then there's like the drummer that's like, he was surfing at the time and they figured he could play drums because no one looks like this guy. He's got a flanny on, so he's probably ahead of his time a little bit. But yeah, we go. And fantastic fucking drummer, but didn't do anything after or before it. Just popped up on... sorry, this glare is shocking. I wish I could figure it out, but... yeah, it just doesn't look like the rest of the band. So I always held this against them for some reason. It was like if I never saw this particular band shot, I would think this band ruled. But that always scarred this band. But looking back as an older man, this was complete Deicide worship. And a little bit of an Easter egg for all the other Aussies in the chat. Let me see who's the first to put their hand up for this one. If anyone remembers... oh, please show up for me. Come on. You got to...
kind of tip it like this.
Son of a... there we go. Can you... fuck you. Just work for me. Just once. Just so I can die happy.
It's always the droids that seem to have... oh, there you go.
There you go. Who in the chat remembers Apostasy? So this was like... these guys rehearsed in the same studio that I had a band in. And... they were like our gods. Like they were death metal, like the way we wanted it to sound. There was other death bands there that were very similar to. Yeah, it's right. He did go to Armored Angel. There were death bands that kind of sounded like they were written by young kids, and they were pretty horrible. And then there was Apostasy, who were just like blistering fast. The demo was awesome, and I believe both of these bands, and Simon, you might be able to correct me, but I believe both of these bands ended up on the Warhead Records label. And Warhead Records were like Nuclear War Now before Nuclear War Now were Nuclear War Now. Like they just had every banger Sydney band that you can imagine. You know, they did Sadistic Acts for a little piece. These guys, there was like Genocide, there was Mortality, there was Psychrist, there was, you know, Deracination. Like you could just go on and on and on. There was like this massive string of bands that most of them very proudly came from Western Sydney, hand on my heart. But, you know, they had a record store, and that was the record store where I ran into Mr. KK Warslut, and he scared the shit out of us. But he was like, you could just run into this, you could go into this this record store, and the dude behind the counter at the time was like the dude from Sadistic X, or just any other local band that was getting around at the time that are now heralded as gods, you know, especially in the Aussie scene. But Warhead Records was amazing, and these two bands were just two of, you know, a plethora of really great Sydney bands. So, I mean, actually they have a YouTube channel, the Warhead Records YouTube channel. You can go and have a look at every single band that they did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they were like our Nuclear War Now, and that was way before Nuclear War Now. Yeah,
Alan,
Killing God. Fuck me, I forgot about them altogether. Jesus Christ.
Alan, I just had this idea. We should think about this down the road, a future show where maybe you or I can't make it, and actually have the Aussie take over. Have all these bastards come on here and talk about their scene. I think that'd be cool.
Oh, that would be cool. Yep. Simon, Jeff, Lee,
Freddie,
Brendan,
get him on here.
Yep.
Lord Humongous, we could put them on, right? They could run the chat, maybe.
Take notes, maybe. Anyway.
We'll just give Reverend Chris Hades the passwords and let him. What could go wrong?
Yep. All right.
Okay, here's one I've never heard of. Not only have I never heard anybody on YouTube talk about this band, I'm not sure I've heard anybody talk about this band, but somehow I discovered them as a kid. Always liked this album. Recently replaced, I had it on cassette as a kid, and now I've got it on CD. That happened. We have from San Diego, Asphalt Ballet. This is a cover. That's a weird name for a band. This is a weird cover for an album. This is 1991, so it's not grungy yet, but the times were changing. Band photo, also kind of an interesting mix of attires going on here. You've got one guy doing the suicidal kind of thing, but some of these guys, it's like there's a slight glamminess, but they're also trying to maybe look like something like Jackal or Junkyard, one of these
little GNR twist in there with some Chris Cornell.
Yeah, exactly. It's a weird hodgepodge of styles, and musically it's a slightly weird hodgepodge of styles too. There is a little bit of glam to it, but just a little bit. A lot of it is more bluesy hard rock. Not really on the sleazy side whatsoever, and definitely not like on the clean Kingdom Come or Deep Purple side. This has a much grittier, dare say, southern kind of vibe to it, which is weird for a band coming from San Diego. So yeah, it's a little all over the place, but they had minimal MTV play. I don't even remember which song had the video. I want to say it was called Blood on the Highway, but it might have been one of the other tracks. I want to say it's Blood on the Highway. I did not check. I caught the video at some point as a kid, thought the song sounded relatively heavy and cool. It's the kind of thing, let's put it this way, you could imagine this maybe being played at something like Sturgis. It could fit into that mold, or it's close. It's not flat out biker rock, but it could appeal to that kind of audience. I found the tape as a kid, and it's actually a very solid album, almost start to finish. It has, the obligatory ballad or two, but they're done in a much more sincere way. It's not, ooh, baby, I miss you, you broke my heart. It's a little more heartfelt and sincere than that. There's enough gravel and grit to the tracks to make it feel at least relatively heavy. Whether you would want to call this a heavy metal album or not, yeah, that's not a hill I'm going to die on, at least. Let's put it that way. If folks want to say, no, that belongs over in just like, the kind of weird Southern hard rock of the late 80s, early 90s, okay, it could land there. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's an album I enjoy. The band did stick around and put out a couple of other albums. I heard the second one as a kid. It came out in 93. It was called Pigs. It has a cover of a pig on a cover. It wasn't awful. There's some traces of this, but you could tell by that point, yes, they were starting to get into that. Some of the 90s trends were really seeping in. Having the one word album title, Pigs. Dude, that's so profound. that kind of shit was showing up some. I played, I had it for a while. I got rid of it. I haven't thought of that album in ages, but this one, hearing it for the first time in ages, I still remember almost every song, almost every solo. It was just one of those weird albums that was a part of the soundtrack of my personal youth. I found it in a used CD bin a month or so ago. I was like, damn it, you're coming home and I'm putting you on the shelf for the first time in a long time. And I'm happy I did. If you like that style, it's a fun album. If you don't, then you don't have to worry about it because you're probably never going to see it. Asphalt Ballet, their self-titled debut album from 1991. Kind of cool.
All right. Well, been on a bit of a Monogarm kick again. This is their debut. Lord Jornens Tid Solder.
Sure, that's not
Nailed
the
it.
title.
Nailed it. Am I Swedish? Holy shit. This is their debut album. Probably their most straight up, more black metal influence. There's still elements of Viking / pagan, folky stuff going on here and there, but for the most part, the core of this is mostly black metal. As the band went on, they became a little bit more commercial, a little more European festival styled black / Viking, and then they have an EP that's straight up folk. So this is a band that walks in both worlds, but under their Viking heritage, it works, it fits, and they're quite good in the folk realm, and they're really good in the metal realm as well, whether it's more black metal or chanted kind of choruses where the crowd can chant back at them at the festivals. It works. I've liked every iteration of their evolution. It's just a good band. It's a good band. I always kind of called them like Enslaved Junior or Timu Enslaved, I guess would be a good one for it, but I don't know. Yeah, there's an accent, Freddie. That was a lame attempt, but I do try. Thankfully, we have some people that come on the show that sometimes give me tips, and it doesn't always work. So you speak English your whole life trying to, well, y'all know, learn another language sucks. Anyway, Monogarm's debut, very good record. Like this band. I'm really trying maybe next year to take my kid overseas to their Monogarm Fest. That'd be fun. Before I'm too old and decrepit and unable to do it, and before he hits the age where he doesn't want anything more to do with me. So I have a window. I still have a window of opportunity here. I hope to maybe make that work. Years are not, they're going quicker and quicker. Gotta do fun shit. Lee.
Yeah. Should we make this last round, guys? We're getting close to midnight.
Oh, yep. Let's do it. Last round.
Oh, then I'm like, what do? Do I go Australian? No, okay. I won't. I'll let you all breathe for a second. But there was a joke made, I think it was last Friday, could have been the Friday before, but someone was like, because I said that Blasphemy might have been the laziest band in the world.
Yeah, they only have 2 albums. They've been touring those 2 albums forever.
Yeah, and it's like, it's 2026, so what version of Blood on the Altar can we release this year? Well, I've got a bunch of them, and Nuclear War Now keep fucking selling them to me, and like, this is ultimately the same album. I mean, what we got, Blood Upon the Soundstage, right? And then we got Live Ritual, which I'm sure has maybe some of the other album in it, but like, I don't even have to open half of these now because I've got them, but I can't stop. And I don't know if it's like just because now I've started that trend, I've just got to keep on going. But I've got like, the only thing I haven't got is the you know, when they put out the bulletproof case, the big metal casing of it, I was like, I'm not spending $600 so you can have a record pressing plant. As much as I would have loved to buy it, I couldn't do it. But Blasphemy is like, I always go back for them, man. And I listened to all the interviews, and I think both of them or all of them are complete train wrecks. I've never seen a band that's been able to stay together and play and yet all be completely damaged human beings. But they've been able to do it. I mean, that probably explains why there's only 2 albums. But, I mean, at this point, I think if I was the manager of Blasphemy, in my very humble, uneducated opinion, they play the same show every single year. It's the same songs. Why don't they just release that every single year? I mean, at this point, I'd still buy it, right? I think half of the other fans of this would too. But why? Why do I need the same album again played a year later? And I asked myself that question, but I will buy it. And here we are. But Blasphemy, no introduction, man. They're just like one of the staples of the underground. And you really can't have a record collection without some type of Blasphemy in, somewhere hidden in it. Multiple times.
All
Same
right.
album.
You're a braver man than I. All right, Alan.
All right, 2 to wrap up with here. Revisiting Bad Religion with No Control. One of my favorite albums by the band. Not a band I know inside out, but there are certain albums I've always enjoyed. And this is probably at the top of the list. If not this, then probably Against the Grain. These are the albums that came out kind of when the band finally broke bigger in terms of popularity. You know, they were one of those early hardcore Southern Cal bands, but unlike a lot of those bands, this one didn't completely burn out early on. They reconfigured themselves and ended up having a really good run of albums by the late 80s and into the 90s. Suffer, I think, is the one most people identify with, and Suffer is fine, but on No Control, they really pick up the pace. They kind of get back to playing like very fast songs more consistently. And that's what I like with Bad Religion. I like it when they go a bit faster. So yeah, cool album for Bad Religion. Last one for the night. This is an album we've discussed a few times that I've always been a little disappointed in. Haven't gone back to though in a long time. Found it in a record store recently in a slightly different format. I'm like, okay, you can have my $13.99 and I'll give it another chance. It's the self-titled Candlemass album, and you're going to immediately notice that the color scheme's all wrong here. It should be a white cover with black print, but apparently last year, celebrating the 20th anniversary of the album, and yes, this album, the reunion album,
20
is
year
20 old.
Fucking A.
Actually 21 now, because that was last year. So yeah, crazy shit. But to celebrate the 20th anniversary, they wanted to do like a remaster or something, but nobody could really track down the original files to work with that. But Leaf did find a rough mix that they had never worked on anymore. And so they ended up putting this out. It's the self-titled, but called Polar Rough Mix. I think it's from Polar Studios is why. So you get the album with a very different mix from the original and a few demo tracks. There's a second CD, but there's only like 4 songs on it. I always hate it when they do that. It's like, you're going to put a bonus CD in. put something on the damn thing. Don't just put 3 or 4 tracks. That doesn't seem worth the bother. The big difference here with the rough mix is that it doesn't have... Well, the album is noted by fans for feeling like it's a little bit of a victim of the loudness wars. That it's one of those albums that's everything's kind of compressed, everything's a little brick-walled, everything's very in your face on the original release. And you don't get that effect on this rougher mix. So it feels a little more open, it breathes a little better. So I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Now, again, when this album came out, I was so overhyped for it. That was my own fault. Candlemass is a band I loved. I liked their 90s albums a lot. But you tell me you're bringing Messiah Markland back into Candlemass, and I get all warm and happy and, inside. And I'm just overhyped myself for the album so that when it came out, it was never going to live up to my expectation. And it didn't. So, yeah, I had not revisited this in ages. It has developed a following over the years. People are always like, you should revisit it. So I have. I paid money to reacquire it. What do I think of it? It does sound quintessentially Candlemass. Wouldn't deny that. Riffing is great. Messiah's vocal delivery sounds great. I have figured out the thing that bothers me about it. Compared to their initial run of albums with Messiah singing, this album lacks that kind of gothic, mystical atmosphere. You listen to those albums like Ancient Dreams and Tales of Creation, and while it's a heavy metal album from the 80s, it's got this just, huge, old sound to it. It sounds like something that could have, it has those older gothic overtones that work so well and give it a lot of character. This sounds like a heavy metal album from 2005. It doesn't have that same personality to the tracks. There are some where it creeps in a bit. Seven Silver Keys, Copernicus, they have hints of that. But this doesn't feel, even though it's the lineup, it doesn't feel like Messiah in the Mad Monk costume singing these grand epic tales. He's singing heavy metal songs written in the 2000s. It's not a bad thing, but it just doesn't have the same personality for me as the original run of albums. So there are some good songs on here. Black Dwarf, yeah, good song. Seven Silver Keys, cool song. But other ones just, again, they just feel like, well, that's a heavy metal song from that particular time and place, and it just doesn't feel as special to me. So I'm glad I gave it another try. I'm not writing it off. I'm not giving it really a thumbs down or a thumbs up. It's kind of a thumbs sideways right now. Better than I recalled. The overhype from 20 years ago is not a factor. That helps. But I'm still just not sold on it being on the same level as many of their other albums, including some of their 90s material with other vocalists. Some of that stuff is hugely underrated. So Candlemass self-titled, a solid thumbs this direction. And we'll see. Maybe I'll keep playing it and it'll grow on me bit by bit. Maybe it'll sit on the shelf next to several other Candlemass albums I just don't play from the 21st century. We'll see. Marty, you get the spotlight. Wrap it up with our big finale here. Go out on a bang.
All right. Well, a lot of homework. Metallurgy last couple weeks, and after last night's stream, if you didn't check it out, go check out our Radical Research crossover episode. We talked about 5 albums. I needed a reset, and what is my reset? What is my ground zero? Kiss. So last night I sat in my basement and spun Love Gun. Love this record. This is a good record. I do like the deep cuts. Almost Human's a good song. You got those bongo attack going on that one. Plaster Caster, great song. I like Hooligan, Peter Criss. I love his raspy, bluesy tone. Good song. Great record. A lot of fun. But what I really was waiting for, I spun this one twice. Paul Stanley solo album. This album, what the hell is that? I freaking love this record. And, Ace had something to prove. He went in. I don't know if he really thinks of it this way. He just went in. He had a really great record. That really should have been my favorite solo album record. Yeah. And this here took the cake, man. Paul went in with a mission. He wrote the best Kiss album that Kiss never did. Right here. This is the one. And it's got Anton Fig on drums for most of it. And you got Carmine Appice or Appice, however you want to say it, on a handful of songs. But Take Me Away, Together as One. Holy shit. What an amazing song. The chorus is just absolutely epic. His voice sounds great. The way this album is produced is mystical. I don't know. Every song on here, I will wait. Hold Me, Touch Me is not a great song. If you were to strike that from the record, it would be a perfect record. But still, it's okay. It's okay. I can live with it on there. Then I moved to this one, Gene Simmons solo album, and this thing is an absolute train wreck. This thing is, you look at the cover, you think it's going to be a certain way, and it just isn't that way at all. It's this is a validation project. You surround yourself with a talented core of people. And, we got Cher on here. You've got all sorts of people. You've got a list of background vocalists. It's like no expense was spared. You've got all this goofy shit going on. At the core, there's Radioactive's a decent song. See You Tonight is okay. Man, and then they end with that Disney When You Wish Upon a Star. It sounds like it could have been in a Disney, well, it was, but it's still the way he did it, like the symphony. And like I said, this is the album that probably broke a budget or two. It was just over the top, a vanity project, a validation project. I'm attached to all these amazing people, and I'm Gene Simmons, blah, blah, blah. I love the guy's voice, but he doesn't sound very demon-y on this record. It's just a hot mess, but still better than Peter Criss's. And then this arrived today from one Australian that is in the show tonight. This is Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. It's on the turntable to listen to tonight. It's basically a best of with a couple new songs. Let's put the X in sex, and you make me rock hard. Oh, I love it, man. I love it. So yeah, thank you, Lee, very much for this. Again, I am one step closer to completing the main collection. So thank you so much. Can't wait to sit and enjoy that tonight. Isn't Ace the best of the series? You know what? It's a close second. It's a close second with Paul's for me. I think they're both great records, but I like Paul's a bit better. All right. That's that. We did it.
Indeed we have. Lee, thank you for taking time to hang out with us tonight. It's always fun to chat with you.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime.
And folks, we would encourage you to go follow the links in the description to Lee's activities. He just dropped a song from his project, Warhammer666. The song is called I Crave the Dark. It's going to be on his upcoming album that will hopefully be out in the fall time. Which orange looks... Oh, here we go. Fire. What's orange and looks good on a Kiss record? Fire. Gotcha. Yeah, please go check out Warhammer666. Good stuff. I guess you can call them a U.S. black metal band nowadays.
That's right.
You have to change your little thingy.
Yeah, I know. True American black metal. Oh, no, I don't have to. I just don't say Australian. I should be fine.
Right on.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
And also, we do... Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, if you're going to, am I able to quickly shout out the Sunday?
I was just about to do it.
Please
but
do.
Oh, well, okay. Well, we have a special one this week. We were going to have a UFO guy on, but he turned out to be a pain in the dick, so we're not having him on it. But we are doing something special. We are going to be interviewing a real life werewolf. He has gotten into some trouble at work, so he'll be sitting the HR test, which has been put together by Miss A and our mandated reporter. So we will be putting him through the ringer because he's not coping with interwork relationships.
Well, he's
So
come
that
to the
should be
right
fun.
place to get to the
Yeah.
bottom of things. So I think that'll be a good episode for sure.
Definitely.
So please go check out Mayhem Sundays, everyone. They're friends. They're a friend channel, and they're awesome. They're doing. It's fun. It's a fun Sunday. It isn't like all the other YouTube channels out there. They're doing little variety thing, little interviews sometimes, and sometimes they're just bullshitting. You know, it's a good mix. So definitely go check it out if you're getting ready for school or work the next day. Go watch some Mayhem Sunday over on the Shredbeard channel. Please go. Alan, what's coming up with Let's Talk Metal Tuesday?
Don't know. I've got videos in the can, but I haven't finished splicing one together to post. But there'll be something on Tuesday, 6:45. Want to say thank you to a lot of folks that have commented tonight that they enjoyed last night's show that we did with our collaboration with the guys from Radical Research. So thank y'all for checking that out. If you haven't done so, please go check out Radical Research's contribution to the collaboration. Jeff posted that this morning. It's episode 146 on the Radical Research channel. They have a really good discussion centered on the album that they chose. For those who missed it, really quick, each show gave the other show a list of 5 albums to choose from. The idea was that you could pick one or more of them to do a show about. Marty and I made our choices and covered that yesterday, last evening. You can check that out on our channel. And Hunter and Jeff made their choice and posted it this morning on the radicalresearch.org website. I'm not going to tell you what they picked. You got to go listen to it and find out for yourself. But they did a fantastic job. I just finished listening to it this evening. So, yeah, lots of good stuff for you to listen to this weekend. If you've got some time, just taking it easy for some good summer weather, hopefully, and want to catch up on your YouTube and podcast listening.
And some show notes for Metallurgy. Monday, there'll be a review up, hopefully Monday, with Logan and Jimmy. They covered the new Chemists, so I'll be getting that up this weekend. And Wednesday, Album Club. Kellen picked Macabre Omen, The Ancient Returns. So we're going to be checking this banger out, and should be a good time. And next Friday is Darcy is returning to the channel, our friend from the Great White North. So we'll have him on, and all will be right in the world. And until then, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Another great week. Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out. 3 streams this week. Hope you got enough.
Marty's got some downtime coming this weekend.
Yeah,
well deserved.
Yeah, I'm going to not be doing much online activities. But cheers, everyone. Thank you so much. Lee, thanks for joining us as always. And we will see you all next week. Take care.